Do you think you can just take advantage of me on this Sunday? Why not say odd numbers for me and even numbers for you instead? Lin Yochu's attractive lips twitched, her brow furrowing in disbelief, her mind racing with complaints. She had thought Mu Yuyan was merely jesting, yet this was the reality? Was it possible? Here she was, ready to reveal her trump card, only to discover that the earlier tension was merely for a trivial matter. Look at you, making such a fuss over a mere day or two. If you're unhappy, Lin Yuchu wrapped herself in her blanket, covering her head. There's nothing I can do about it. We'll just rely on our own abilities. In terms of knowledge, business acumen, and experience, Lin Yuchu had no grounds to compare herself to Mu Yuyan. However, when it came to cunning, not even 10 Mu Yuyans could match her prowess. Enough sleeping. The sun is already up, Mu Yuyan urged, irritably pulling the blanket away. As noon approached, after waiting for an extended period at the local armed office without receiving any response, Mu Yuyan and Lin Yuchu found themselves returning in vain once more. Seated in the rear of the SUV, Lin Yuchu tugged at her collar, fanning herself with her palm, and began to complain. What kind of ridiculous weather is this in Kellen country? When we left Long Country, winter was nearly upon us, and yet here, it's sweltering. It's truly exasperating. I've already sweated so much. Mu Yuyan cast a sidelong glance, huffing disdainfully. Who has to blame for your excess weight and heavy burdens? It's your own doing. Can you fault anyone else? Aining, she continued. Do you think that consistent exercise will help slim down? I feel like I've gained weight again recently. Perhaps it's time for me to consider a diet. Even if I don't aspire to be as slender as you, a little reduction would suffice. If this continues, I fear I might balloon out of control. Lin Yuchu directed her inquiry to Aining, who was driving the SUV. At that moment, Aining's hand trembled slightly on the wheel, her facial expression betraying a hint of loss of control. Aining, you need to concern yourself with her nonsense. Just focus on driving. Mu Yuyan, risusurit, her. Delivering yet another blow to Aining's already burdened spirit. Aining felt a pang of bitterness but remained silent, having learned that Lin Wanqing had discovered her secret of communication with Aining. Just then, a sudden screech pierced the air as a vehicle ahead abruptly halted. Several individuals clad in local armed attire set up a makeshift checkpoint, obstructing their path. Miss, be cautious. These individuals seem to be targeting us. Aining's expression shifted, her demeanor turning serious. One hand gripped the steering wheel while the other instinctively reached for a Browning at her waist, her right foot pressing down on the accelerator, ready to breach the blockade. In this unfamiliar territory, there was little time to ponder. The safety of the miss was paramount. Thud, thud, thud. The sound of weapon stocks repeatedly striking the SUV's door accompanied incomprehensible shouts in a foreign tongue from the armed locals. A security guard, hands raised in surrender, approached and announced loudly to Mu Yuyan in the back seat. Miss, these individuals claim they suspect our vehicle contains suspicious persons and demand we disembark for interrogation. Interrogation? Nonsense. There was no checkpoint when we arrived this morning. They are clearly looking for trouble. Can't you see? The weapons assigned to you are merely for show. Aining shouted angrily at the male guard outside the door. A bunch of useless fools. If we step out now, we'll all be at their mercy. Who knows what sort of interrogation they might subject the miss to. Everyone behind me, prepare for battle and get ready to break through. Her voice rose, knowing that the SUVs they had procured locally, while inexpensive, lacked quality and had poor sound insulation. The bodyguard of the vehicle ahead was escorted away, and there were still others behind. In such circumstances, the only option was to charge through the checkpoint. There was no way to comply with the so-called inspection. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that this was clearly a deliberate provocation. Suddenly, just as Anning finished speaking, several bodyguard vehicles behind the SUV had not yet drawn their weapons when a hail of bullets greeted them. The front hood of the car was riddled with holes, and the two bodyguards in the front seat were grievously injured by the gunfire. Get out of the car. Don't think you're the only ones who understand the language of the Dragon Kingdom. Our superiors wish to invite Miss Mu Yuyan for a meal. Please show some respect, and don't make this difficult for everyone. A local armed personnel, seemingly acting as a translator, coldly warned Anning. Damn it. Anning gritted her teeth and slammed the steering wheel in frustration. She was furious. The barrels of the local armed men were now pointed directly at her head. Breaking through was no longer an option. She had not anticipated that among these locals, there would be someone who understood the language of the Dragon Kingdom. Their plans had been deciphered. Yuyan, we're doomed. It must be because we've been frequenting the local armed headquarters that their little leader has taken notice of us. Lin Yohu anxiously petted Mu Yuyan's thigh. Mu Yuyan's expression was grave as she turned to fix Lin Yuchu with an intense gaze. From now on, You shall refer to me as Mu Yuyan. Lin Yuchu's eyelids twitched. If it were Qin Lang inviting us to dinner, I could take his place. But now we're dealing with people from Kulan Nation. Although they may not be as formidable as Qin Lang, I still find it daunting. Don't worry. There's no need to be afraid. We are citizens of the Dragon Kingdom, and our safety is assured. Consider it a mere meal. Or like those celebrities online who claim to be discussing collaboration in their rooms. It's fundamentally the same. Chapter 295, Gin Lang's Fury. Iron-blooded killings if we don't speak. Qin Lang 1-0. Right? Lin Yuchu blinked. Isn't it just mutual harm? Harm away. Who is afraid of whom? Staring at the myriad of gun barrels, Lin Yuchu felt a pang of fear in her heart, yet she refused to falter. Mu Yiyan had no intention of saying more. She shot Anning a resolute glance. Accompanying the local armed leaders of Kulan for a meal? Not a chance. Even in death. She would not allow anyone to take advantage of her. Silently, she retrieved a delicate handgun from behind the front seat and gripped it firmly, her gaze growing ever more resolute. Lin Yuchu felt a surge of tension. You can handle a handgun? Can you shoot accurately? I've seen Anning shoot swiftly and precisely. Did you learn from her? Mu Yiyan aimed the gun at her own head. Whether or not she could shoot accurately at others was uncertain. But shooting herself would undoubtedly be easy. Don't point the gun at yourself just yet. I believe we might survive this. Lin Yuchu murmured softly, revealing that she had encountered an acquaintance from the Dragon Country in Kulan, seemingly a subordinate of Qin Lang. He had expressed intentions to establish a stronghold here and cultivate his own influence, a venture that likely had already commenced. Perhaps, if they could merely delay for a bit longer, reinforcements would arrive. While other matters remained uncertain, in terms of discernment, Lin Yuchu was undeniably astute. She possessed an exceptional ability to read people. From her youth, she had relied on this talent to navigate numerous encounters without facing the repercussions she rightfully deserved. This had been effectively validated. The probability of Dragon Country individuals appearing in Kulan was already low, and having spotted a familiar face near Qin Lang, it was evident that he had dispatched them to keep watch over her. Why hadn't she mentioned this sooner? Mu Yiyan pulled out her phone, intent on calling Qin Lang. Faced with such trouble, there was no time for hesitation. She would reach out to her man. She was well aware that causing trouble would likely incite Qin Lang's ire, but when he arrived, she would accept whatever punishment he deemed fit. Miss, perhaps a call is unnecessary. Qin Xiao's men should have already arrived. Anning, seated in the driver's seat, quietly remarked while watching the rearview mirror. Suddenly, a flurry of gunfire erupted behind the off-road vehicle as a dozen vehicles sped forward, manned by armed Dragon Country individuals who brazenly fired into the azure sky. Upon spotting the leading middle-aged man, the often-seen Lao Huang accompanying Qin Lang, Mu Yiyan's grip on her handgun steadied, her trembling finally subsiding. No one is impervious to the fear of death. It is merely that certain circumstances can be far more terrifying than death itself. Now that Qin Lang's bodyguards had arrived, the situation was poised to settle. The convoy of vehicles stirred up clouds of dust, encircling a group of roughly 20 local armed personnel. Lao Huang, glancing at a translator beside him, gestured towards the Kulan individuals while smirking slightly. Ahem, lower your weapons. This group is under our protection, the translator declared loudly. Nonsense. This is Kulan, not your homeland. Let us see you try. The local armed personnel raised their weapons, aiming at Lao Huang and his team. Bang, bang, bang. A barrage of bullets was fired mere inches from the feet of the Kulan individuals, leaving a series of bullet holes in their wake. It was crucial not to forget what these men had done prior to becoming Qin Lang's bodyguards. They were marksmen, professionals in their field. The local armed forces of Kulan were merely amateurs. True elites were few and far between. And how could they possibly compare to Lao Huang and his professional crew? Bakayaro, Lao Huang bellowed, causing the opposing group of Kulan individuals to tremble in fear. Bakayaro, he shouted again, aiming his submachine gun at the forehead of the leading minor official. Here, it was a world defined by the law of the jungle, survival of the fittest, where the strongest voice dictated the terms. In terms of momentum, one cannot afford to falter. As for reputation, it is of little consequence. After all, he did not mention the fair maiden, nor did he suggest that beauty would remain to assist. Who knows which nation he hails from? The Kellen people exchanged glances, acutely aware of their disadvantage amidst the throng, easily susceptible to annihilation. Not to mention, within the off-road vehicles, there were numerous bodyguards of Mu Yuyan, all armed as well. With internal strife and external threats, resistance was futile. One junior officer cast a knowing glance at his subordinates, and after a flurry of expletives, they departed in frustration. Once their figures vanished from sight, the 30-odd individuals led by Old Huang still aimed their submachine guns at the direction of their retreat, remaining vigilant without a hint of relaxation. Miss Mu, you have attracted the attention of the Kellen people. Your current lodging is no longer safe. Let us take you to our territory, where it is more secure, and the young master will arrive shortly, Old Huang quietly suggested as he approached the off-road vehicle. Thank you, Brother Huang. If it were not for your timely arrival, we might have faced dire consequences. Mu Yiyin expressed her heartfelt gratitude, still shaken. Earlier, were you impersonating someone from Sakura country? Lin Yuchu inquired with keen interest, marveling at Old Huang. Truly, as expected of my man's bodyguard, your wits served you well, scaring off the Kellen people and even repulsing those from Sakura country. What a pity that this is Kellen. They have the upper hand. Otherwise, we would have surely dealt with that band of nefarious scoundrels, Lin Yuchu declared, shaking her fist with a fierce snort. She was not one to be trifled with. Anyone who dared to bully her would be remembered for a lifetime. Sooner or later, she would seek an opportunity to reclaim her dignity. These are mere trifles. We should not linger here, as they may call for reinforcements, Old Huang advised before returning to the vehicle. A convoy of several off-road vehicles, accompanied by a dozen others, made their way toward the stronghold established by Old Huang and his associates. By 3 o'clock that afternoon, Qin Lang arrived at the border in a bulletproof off-road vehicle, accompanied by fewer than 20 individuals. These comprised his entire assets left in Tianhai City, all brought along. Additionally, he carried the most advanced individual combat weaponry. Young master, this area is a minefield. It is marked by Old Huang and his team, recognizable only to us. Any ordinary person entering here would face certain death. Junzi, seated in the back of the off-road vehicle, pointed to an open space near a tubular building, indicating a peculiar marker resembling a scarecrow, explaining it to Qin Lang. Defensive measures are ample, yet offensive capabilities are lacking. If you were to encounter today's predicament, what would you do? Qin Lang inquired nonchalantly, leaning back in his seat. Avoiding a glance at the meticulously constructed minefield, Junzi furrowed his brow. Eliminate that group of Kellen individuals attempting to bully Miss Mu? Qin Lang shook his head, gazing out the window. After a prolonged silence, he finally spoke. Kellen, the tides are shifting. It begins with iron-blooded resolve. Chapter 296. Overstepping Boundaries? Qin Lang, professional player applies for battle. The off-road vehicle navigated around the minefield, proceeding directly toward an unremarkable tubular building. Before Qin Lang had a chance to alight from the vehicle, Lin Yuchu dashed out, throwing herself into his arms, clinging to his neck like a koala. Due to the jarring impact, her body swayed unsteadily, requiring a moment to stabilize. Qin Lang, you finally arrived. Just a few hours ago, your woman was nearly bullied by those despicable Kellen people. You must help me seek vengeance. We must teach those ruffians a lesson. How dare they bully a citizen of the Dragon Kingdom? If it weren't for Lao Huang and the others arriving in time, you might not even see me now. With tear-streaked cheeks and eyes red from weeping, she fervently wiped her tears. You know my character. I am fiercely loyal and virtuous, deserving a monument for my chastity in ancient times. Those Kellen people think they can intimidate me? Absolutely not. Even if there were only one bullet left in the chamber, I would reserve it for myself. I would rather end my own life than let those fiends succeed. Mu Yuyin, observing Lin Yuchu's proactive demeanor, felt a twitch at the corner of her mouth. All these sentiments echoed her own experiences. The thought of taking her own life had also crossed her mind. Yet now, all of it had been usurped by Lin Yuchu. Was this truly a confidant? It felt more like a vendetta from a past life. Qin Lang gazed calmly at Lin Yuchu and remarked, but I heard that those Kellen people were targeting Yuyin? Lin Yuchu's eyes darted around before she nodded. Yes, they were indeed after Yuyin, but upon seeing me beside her, how could they not harbor ill intentions? That's impossible. I have confidence in my allure. While those words I just uttered were learned from Yuyin, if the situation escalates, I won't hesitate. On the battlefield, claiming undeserved credit can lead to execution. This is a one-time occurrence. Next time, restrain your tongue. Qin Lang playfully smacked her backside, urging her to descend. So many eyes were upon them. He was unaccustomed to displaying such intimacy in front of his subordinates. When alone, anything goes, but in the presence of others, discretion must prevail. Oh, Lin Yuchu pouted, mumbling softly. Realizing that Qin Lang was displeased, she guessed his thoughts. She had undoubtedly stepped on his toes while attempting to flatter him. Are you all right? Qin Lang approached Mu Yuyin, taking her hand and examining her closely. I'm Fina. Brother Huang and the others arrived just in time. We sustained no injuries. Only a few bodyguards were hurt. Mu Yin felt warmth in her heart and quickly shook her head. When the Kellen people had ambushed her, she had been engulfed in terror and dread, and even the memory of it now sent shivers down her spine. Yet at this moment, as Qin Lang held her hand and spoke words of concern, everything seemed trivial. As long as Qin Lang was by her side, nothing was to be feared. You are unharmed, but I am not. Without uttering a word, one rushes into such a perilous situation. Had it not been for old Huang and the others discovering it in a timely manner, do you comprehend the dire consequences that could have ensued? I lack the luxury of time to deliberate with you now. I shall settle the score when I am at leisure. With a cold huff, Qin Lang admonished Mu Yin and turned his attention to old Huang, his expression stern. Recount the events to me in detail. And who was the minor leader that sent someone to intercept? Have you uncovered any information? Old Huang swallowed hard, feeling an inexplicable pressure under the master's authoritative gaze, rendering him nearly breathless, a sensation even more intense than when he faced the brutal drill sergeant during his rookie days. He endeavored to compose himself. As for the Kulan faction, they possessed merely a singular armed force, comprised of members under a few fixed leaders. The group that had arrived today were all subordinates of the same chief, likely intent on targeting Miss Mu Yin. Old Huang had anticipated the master's dissatisfaction with this operation and had already gathered some intelligence regarding the local armed groups in Kulan, receiving corresponding feedback. He proceeded to recount every detail meticulously. Qin Lang sat upon a chair, his fingers lightly tapping against the wooden armrest somewhat awkwardly. A glance downward revealed that the chair was missing several corners, the evident shattered spots indicating they had been struck by bullets. The chaos surrounding them meant that a firefight could erupt anywhere at any moment. Even when old Huang and his companions took control of the area, conflict could have easily broken out. Yet, Qin Lang felt no surprise. Rather, his interest was piqued. No restrictions? One could play as they wished. Was that not precisely to his liking? It was merely a game. After all, who could not partake in that? Are you acquainted with the local armed forces chief? Qin Lang inquired, turning to the side to glance at Mu Yin, who stood beside him. Startled by the question, Mu Yin, who had been lost in thought contemplating how to deal with Qin Lang's impending reckoning, instinctively nodded. I know where he is located, in which office, but I have yet to see him in the past few days. It seems as though he is deliberately avoiding me. I am quite curious about what kind of person can establish a local armed force amid such turmoil in Kulan. Take me there. Let us pay him a visit. Qin Lang rose, preparing to take matters into his own hands. Junzi immediately grew anxious. Master, this may not be feasible. The situation in Kulan is already chaotic. To put it bluntly, what kind of so-called local armed forces are they? They are nothing more than scattered soldiers, lacking international recognition, and thus devoid of credibility. These ruffians are capable of anything. It's far too dangerous. Perhaps I should go instead. Old Huang nodded, agreeing with Junzi. The matter is indeed my oversight, Master. I am willing to personally seek an explanation. An explanation? Qin Lang tilted his head, fixing his gaze on old Huang. What sort of explanation? Shall we slaughter that group of Kulan individuals who arbitrarily set up roadblocks? Or shall we lure out and eliminate that minor leader? Relying on your skills to covertly engage in such actions, do you not feel a sense of shame? You have already encroached upon the dignity of our nation. Is this a matter that can be resolved by the demise of one or two individuals? Attend to your duties and follow the instructions given. I, Qin Lang, have never been bullied in my homeland. Upon arriving in Kulan, it is I who shall impose upon others. Chapter 297, Threats and Counterthreats. Junzi, come with me. Lao Huang will stay behind to guard the home. Qin Lang called out coldly as he exited the building. Junzi wished to dissuade him. Let those reckless individuals face the perilous tasks ahead. It was the first time witnessing the young master take the lead, truly an eye-opening experience. However, trailing behind such a valiant master reignited the fervor within Junzi's heart. What is there to fear? After all, there is a powerful backing. Let us proceed. The off-road vehicle sped towards the local armed forces administrative building, carrying Qin Lang, along with the elegant Mu Yin and Lin Yuchu in the back seat. At several checkpoints along the way, they were granted passage under the pretense of discussing business, thanks to Mu Yin's intervention. This was not her first visit to the local armed forces office. The familiar sentries recognized her exquisite visage. Upon their arrival, it was not long before a minor leader approached to greet them. Miss Mu, I am Nick. We could discuss the factory establishment you mentioned. Please follow me. He was a local of Kulan, with a complexion on the darker side, though not excessively so, radiating a subtle golden hue. Nick's office was located on the second floor, featuring a large floor-to-ceiling window, though not as sophisticated as the high-end curtain walls of Longhua. It was simply a sizable pane of glass. Can you speak Longhua's language? Kin lang inquirit. Scanning the room with a detached demeanor as he and his companions settled into the office chairs. Nick chuckled lightly. I studied in Longhua before. That simplifies matters. Qin Lang nodded, drawing Mu Yuyin closer as his tone turned icy. She is my woman, and the altercation that transpired in Kolan this afternoon. Do not tell me you are unaware. I have heard of the situation, which is precisely why I came to meet Miss Mu, Nick replied. Unlike the locals who foolishly believe their firearms granted them authority, oblivious to the vastness of the world, even daring to provoke the CEOs of major corporations in Longhua. His personal meeting with Mu Yuyin aimed to offer more favorable terms for the factory establishment to mitigate the repercussions. He was not overly astonished by Qin Lang's demeanor. From him emanated an air of authority that surpassed even his own position as the third-in-command of the local armed forces. In an effort to alleviate the impact of recent events, he felt compelled to speak up. Miss Mu, I believe I have grasped your intentions regarding our Kellen. You may freely choose the location for the factory within Kellen's territory, where we can offer approximately 300 acres for your company's development. In light of the unfortunate incident that has cast a shadow upon your experience, I am willing to extend the area to 800 acres, without altering the price. Furthermore, from this moment onward, should any safety concerns arise at your factory, our local armed forces in Kellen will ensure your protection without delay. Undoubtedly, this offer was exceedingly generous, enough to stir even Mu Yuyin's interest. Safety was paramount in Kellen's concerns, and with Nick's assurance as the third-in-command and the backing of local armed forces, few would dare to disrupt the factory she intended to establish. Despite the seemingly dilapidated state of the local armed forces headquarters, given a modicum of time, they could muster a contingent of thousands from Kellen. This was precisely why Huang and his associates refrained from eliminating those armed forces after rescuing Mu Yuyin. Any slight conflict could invite far more severe retaliation. This was Kellen, not Long Country. With fewer numbers, genuine confrontation was implausible. Miss Mu, what do you think of my sincerity? Nick inquired casually, sipping his imported coffee with a relaxed smile. Mu Yuyin did not respond, instead casting a questioning glance toward Qin Lang. Qin Lang, holding Mu Yuyin close, remained focused on the armrest of his chair, and after a moment of contemplation, he coldly remarked, You think a mere confection can atone for your errors? Not a word have you mentioned about the 20 individuals who acted, nor the mastermind behind them. Have you learned to evade responsibility in Long Country? Are you unaware that debts should be paid by their rightful owners? Fearful, perhaps? In this setting, I cannot fathom the meaning of fear. Do you intend to dismiss me with an increase in factory size? Is this some sort of jest? Nick's demeanor soured at the challenge. Although he had been a student in Long Country, upon his return, he had ascended to the role of the third-in-command of the local armed forces, wielding significant authority, truly a position of great power. Granting Qin Lang and his companions access to his office was already a considerable concession. How dare they express dissatisfaction with his attempts at reparations? Such audacity was intolerable. Eliminate those 20 individuals who carelessly set the trap. Leave this matter to my associates. As for the mastermind behind this chaos, bring him forth, behead him, and display his head at your office for 3 days and nights. This task must be executed by your own hands. I intend to send a clear warning to all of Kellen. While it is permissible to target others, any harm inflicted upon my people must be met with death. Excruciatingly severe death. Qin Lang raised his gaze, a playful smile gracing his features. Yet his tone bore a chilling gravity as he laid forth his demands. Do not say it is Nick. Even Mu Yuyin, Lin Yuchu, and even Junzi were taken aback. They knew the young master was reckless, but they never imagined it to this extent. In the local armed office building of Kolan, pointing at the nose of the third chief and demanding him to slaughter his own men, is this request not excessively outrageous? Do not forget, this is Kolan, not your dragon country, where you can act as you please. Nick was furious. Qin Lang's demand was, without a doubt, a slap in his face. As the third chief, how could he possibly sacrifice the lives of his subordinates to satisfy the demands of a dragon country citizen? How could he maintain authority? It was entirely impossible. You may refrain from acting, but if I were to take action myself, the casualties might not merely be limited to 20 or so. Qin Lang remained unperturbed, gazing at Nick with a calm demeanor, seemingly indifferent to his rage. Nick scoffed. What audacity! Does he think Kolan is a place where one can come and go as they please? Does he believe he can stroll out of here unscathed? The most notorious aspect of Kolan, as perceived by outsiders, is its chaos. Daily skirmishes result in fatalities. And should a few Dragon Country individuals inadvertently perish amidst the fray, it would be an inevitable consequence. Junzi took a step forward, exuding an aura of menace. Locking his gaze on Nick, his intentions turning deadly. If all else fails, abducting Nick from this place could serve as a viable option. Do not be anxious, relax. Qin Lang patted Mu Yin's shoulder and addressed Junzi, stating that while we might encounter trouble, it must not occur today. Otherwise, the Dragon Country's Counselor Guin may consider seeking military assistance from neighboring regions. Though the Dragon Country is distant, its words carry weight that Kolan cannot currently withstand. Do you understand what I'm saying? I am threatening you. Do you comprehend? Qin Lang released Mu Yin and approached Nick, gently patting his cheek. If you provoke me, I cannot guarantee your survival, but the local armed forces of Kolan will undoubtedly become pariahs. If you doubt it, feel free to test it. A threat? In this arena, Qin Lang is the expert. If one encounters a chief who merely knows how to wield a gun, a different approach must be taken. Yet, of all people, he encounters someone who studied in the Dragon Country and is aware of its might. What can one do to him? Does he dare to act? For instance, at this moment, Nick's face was slapped, and though his hand rested on his gun holster, does he dare to draw his weapon? No, he does not dare. Having studied abroad, Nick understands the strength of the Dragon Country better than anyone. No matter how furious he feels inside, he will endure, at least for today. He does not dare to lay a hand on Qin Lang. Chapter 298. Not bowing down? Wouldn't it be better to perish instead? Do not glare at me. With your meager strength, save it for your woman back home. Qin Lang lightly tapped Nick's face, hoping you would consider my request carefully. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee what the consequences will be. Upon uttering those words, Qin Lang, without glancing at Nick, whose eyes appeared ready to bulge out of his head, signaled to Mu Yin and Lin Yuchu to depart. Once outside the office, Lin Yuchu swallowed hard and, with a hint of trepidation, inquired, Qin Lang, wasn't what you just did a bit excessive? After all, this is Kolan's territory. She continued, they say one shouldn't strike a face. Yet you hit that fellow right in the face. What's more, he is the third in command of the local armed forces. He must be seething, especially since when I glanced back as we left, his eyes were so prominently bulging. Is this a mere difference in ethnicity? Quite astonishing. Mu Yuyan, resting her forehead on her hand, gazed at her fearless friend, feeling somewhat exasperated. Initially, she thought Lin Yuchu had changed her temperament, worrying about such matters. However, as the conversation progressed, it veered off course, focusing oddly on Nick's bulging eyes. Was there a misunderstanding? They were in the office of the local armed forces, surrounded by local militants. Had Nick not been so well acquainted with the situation, a conflict would surely have ensued, and they would have found themselves encircled by Kolan's armed members. This was indeed Kolan's office building. Even if the guards were to rush in, they would be unable to rescue them. Do you realize how perilous it was just now? If Nick had called for aid, we would have been trapped here indefinitely. Mu Yin said, prodding Lin Yuchu's forehead with her finger. Lin Yuchu shivered slightly, and after a few steps, she began to tremble. Now she acknowledged the danger. Or had that realization been moments ago? Mu Yin rolled her eyes and chastised her. Lin Yuchu, biting her lip and fidgeting with her clothing, confessed, Yin, I can't hold it any longer. I drank far too much coffee in that man's office. Glancing at the corridor where Kolan personnel occasionally passed, her eyes glinted with a hint of greed, and she abandoned Mu Yin's side to clutch Qin Lang's arm. Will you accompany me to the restroom? It just so happens I need to relieve myself too. Qin Lang smirked slightly, casting a glance at Lin Yuchu's long legs as they walked. A quarter of an hour later, in Nick's office, a local armed personnel dressed in uniform entered, bowing his head as he spoke in the native tongue of Kolan. Mr. Nick, is there anything you require? Have those individuals departed? Nick toyed with a handgun in his hand, a flicker of fire evident in his gaze. Before leaving, a man and a woman went to the restroom, then left. After the black individual responded, he tentatively asked, Mr. Nick, it seems you are quite displeased with those individuals. Do you need me to dispatch people to deal with them? He gestured to his throat, indicating a threat, casting a cautious glance at Nick. Not for now. Send a few to follow them and ascertain their whereabouts. Await my further instructions, Nick commanded unequivocally. In Kolan, he was the leader, not Qin Lang and his companions. How dare they be so audacious in his office, even to the point of striking him? Who granted Qin Lang such audacity? Do you truly consider yourself a character of significance? Was it not merely a matter of giving a heads up to the consulate of the neighboring country? Today we remain stagnant. But what of tomorrow? In this chaotic Kellen, who could predict whose life might be impacted? Moreover, in Kellen, he commands an army of followers. Countless individuals would willingly lay down their lives for him. Kellen lacks an airport, and for Qin Lang and his companions to depart, they must traverse the essential route leading to the neighboring nation. If an unfortunate incident were to befall Qin Lang after leaving Kellen, how could they possibly attribute a baseless accusation to our Kellen? To engage with him is to court disaster. Nick gazed out through the expansive glass window, his expression growing increasingly fierce. What a relief. Lin Yuchu reclined in her seat, stretching lazily. Remarkably, Kellen is only a few roads, yet the restrooms are quite pristine. Mu Yuyin cast a doubtful glance at Qin Lang, who had closed his eyes upon entering the vehicle, seeking to glean some insight from his demeanor. Yet, he remained unresponsive, whether due to fatigue or perhaps having engaged in some clandestine activity whilst accompanying Lin Yuchu to the restroom. She could not discern. Oh, does Kellen truly possess a golden cup? Lin Yuchu exclaimed as she spotted a golden van bumping along outside. In this foreign land, encountering such a familiar vehicle was indeed surprising. Mu Yuyin felt a twinge of discontent, sensing an unsettling discord. She remarked with displeasure that many familiar vehicles are predominantly exported to smaller nations in the international arena. Encountering one here should not be deemed extraordinary. She turned away from Lin Yuchu and looked at the still closed eyes of Qin Lang. Her curiosity piqued. Now that we have undoubtedly offended the local armed forces, what shall we do? In the future, we are certain to become targets in Kellen. Perhaps we should consider returning home. Aside from Kellen, there are other small nations that could serve as viable options for establishing factories. There is no need for us to confront them head-on. She feared that Qin Lang would continue on his reckless path. Despite her awareness of his formidable background, she understood the gravity of their situation. After all, they were on foreign soil. The individuals Qin Lang had brought, combined with her own bodyguards, did not even total 80. How could they possibly contend with the local armed forces of Kellen? Why should we take our leave? Must we bow before the people of Kellen? Why should we bow? Are they truly more powerful than I? Qin Lang murmured, still with his eyes shut. Mu Yuyin shook her head, clarifying that it was not that Kellen was inherently strong, but rather that the demands he proposed would not be acquiesced to by Nick, nor would any other leaders. Thus, even if they do not act today, Kellen will assuredly strike against us in the future. Qin Lang yawned. After a moment's contemplation, Mu Yuyin reluctantly nodded, her voice tinged with a plea. It must be so. It is far too perilous. Let us return and postpone any matters for another time, shall we? There are far too many of them, and you would be in grave danger. Please do not place yourself in such perilous circumstances. I genuinely fear for your safety. Do not fear. Qin Lang opened his eyes, gently tousling Mu Yin's silky hair with a cold chuckle. It would be most advantageous if they acquiesce to my demands. If they do not, I possess means to compel their compliance. As soon as the words fell, a thunderous boom erupted from the rear of the off-road vehicle. The soldiers, Junzi, Lin Yuchu, and Mu Yuyin, turned their heads in unison, only to behold thick black smoke billowing from the tallest local armed forces office building. Gulping nervously, Mu Yuyin and Lin Yuchu exchanged alarm glances. The timing and location, coupled with Qin Lang's earlier statement, made it clear. Not only had he struck the face of the leader of the Kolan faction, but before departing, he had also demolished the office building. It was not just the two women who were shaken. Even Junzi felt a profound sense of shock. He silently activated the off-road vehicle's sound system, and an exhilarating melody surged forth. Chapter 299. The Dark Blade of Cherry Blossom Country. Young Master, what shall we do next? Should we make a quick escape, or follow the procedure? Junzi mused, gently nodding his head to the rhythm. It was evident that following the young master could lead to either jubilant triumph or devastating despair. Having obliterated the local armed forces office building within Kulan's stronghold, it was clear that the situation had escalated to one of life and death. It would not be long before Kulan retaliated with fervor. Escape? Were we not searched upon entry? If I were carrying explosives, would they not have discovered it? The prospect of internal betrayal loomed. Perhaps someone had been corrupted, orchestrating this assault maliciously. Leaning back with his head cradled in his hands, Qin Lang yawned, feeling somewhat fatigued. Let us return. Instruct Lao Huang and the others to deal with those following us. Despite the Kulan faction's familiarity with the terrain and their distant pursuit, he could still sense the palpable intent to kill, lurking less than a kilometer behind, disguised as an ordinary local vehicle. I'll notify Lao Huang immediately. Junzi nodded resolutely. Despite his trepidation, he would unhesitatingly carry out the young master's orders. After a brief reconnaissance around Kulan's territory, upon returning to the cluster of tenement buildings, a throng of bodyguards stood outside the safety zone, exchanging bewildered glances as they fixed their gaze on one particular tenement, their expressions fraught with dread. What is going on? Why is everyone standing outside? Lao Huang, having dealt with the tale, furrowed his brow at the fearful countenances of his comrades. What has happened? An enemy attack. One of the bodyguards appeared sheepish. Under Lao Huang's intense scrutiny, he averted his gaze, bowing his head in shame. While we were resting, an enemy infiltrated our perimeter. That individual was cunning, merely placing a black bag in the adjacent tenement before fleeing, showing no intention of direct confrontation. We suspect that the large black bag contains explosives, but none of us are trained bomb disposal experts. Had they crossed the minefield? Lao Huang's voice lowered ominously. This minefield had been meticulously set by him, with only his entrusted men aware of the special markers. Now, an enemy had seemingly traversed it with ease, leaving behind a bomb? Undoubtedly. This was a situation that would render the young master powerless before others. I shall defuse the bomb. Old Huang gritted his teeth. When he first arrived, he had made a firm promise to Junzi, assuring him that he would transform the rear into an impregnable fortress. Now that a mishap had occurred, he was determined to lead by example. Halt! Qin Lang stopped Old Huang, who was about to head towards the cylindrical building, and gestured to Junzi, hand over the equipment. Junzi retrieved a specially crafted Desert Eagle from his waist and handed it to Qin Lang. Casting a glance at the firearm, Qin Lang carelessly tossed it aside. What use do I have for a handgun? Bring me something more formidable. Junzi hurriedly jogged to the SUV's trunk, emerging with a dark green grenade launcher, which he hoisted onto Qin Lang's shoulder. Qin Lang squinted as he aimed through the sight and pulled the trigger. With a whoosh, a round grenade was launched, striking the cylindrical building directly. With a tremendous explosion, the entire structure erupted into a cloud of smoke and debris, instantaneously transforming into a wasteland. Were there bombs inside? Even if they had detonated, their power would pale in comparison to that of the grenade launcher. We cannot linger here. Leave behind a few high-quality satellite communication devices, and dispatch a few individuals to chat on the other end using the equipment. Let the minefield claim as many Quran people as it can. Let us maximize our impact. Qin Lang instructed methodically. In this technologically backward no-man's land, simple tactics could eliminate a group of fearless local armed forces. As for him, naturally, he would seek out the organization responsible for the bombing. What a joke. In the chaotic mix of Quran, despite the countless factions and organizations conducting illicit activities in this no-man's land, he had arrived as a formidable dragon. Whether the local organization was a tiger or a worm, they would have to bow before him. Who were the enemies? If you cannot discern that, you might as well pack up and leave. Junzi stood beside Qin Lang, his gaze fixed sternly on Old Huang, his tone gravely serious. He was venting the young master's frustration while also offering Old Huang a way out. It was the ninjas from the land of cherry blossoms. Their movements were too enigmatic, and such individuals were undoubtedly part of the local organization known as Darkblade. Approximately 20 kilometers from the central office building of Quran lay a formidable organization named Darkblade. Among them, the most fearsome was the elusive squad of ninjas. Though few in number, typically no more than a dozen, they could silently eliminate an enemy force 10 times their size. Even the local armed forces of Quran dared not recklessly provoke this tiger. It is well known that the objectives of these organizations were not to claim dominion over Quran. Rather, they exploited the regional advantages of this lawless territory to further their own interests. As night fell, heavy clouds obscured the sky, casting a weighty gloom overhead. In a bar adorned with the unique neon lights of a land of cherry blossoms, a cacophony of sound enveloped the space with sharp, high-pitched melodies that fluctuated between urgency and tranquility. Panasonic, why have you only just returned? You were merely tasked with intimidating those Dragon Kingdom fellows. Yet you took such an interminable time. A burly man, bare-chested with a menacing scar stretching from his right shoulder to his navel, embraced a woman clad in a kimono with one arm while holding a glass of red wine with the other, casually crossing his legs. He regarded the ninja Matsushita, who had just entered, and could not help but jest. Did you succeed? How many Dragon Kingdom people did you manage to eliminate? Matsushita gritted his teeth, remaining silent as he quietly seated himself on an imported sofa. His eyes scanned the surroundings, seemingly attempting to memorize the faces of everyone in the bar while discerning any hidden masters among them. The burly man, noticing Matsushita's indifference, scoffed and turned his attention back to the woman in the kimono. At that moment, two men with yellow skin enter the bar, immediately capturing the attention of the few Sakura individuals present. The slender man at the forefront, though handsome, revealed nothing more. However, the burly figure beside him exuded a palpable aura of menace, akin to a crouching tiger. Their arrival boded ill. Chapter 300. The Fortunate Lady of Charisma, Status. In wealth, Qin Lang paid no heed to the predatory gazes of the Sakura patrons, confidently approaching the burly man and selecting a uniquely luxurious sofa to sit upon. Instantly, the once boisterous bar fell silent, as if someone had grasped its throat. Everyone held their breath, for this seat was reserved for a certain esteemed individual, and it was audacious for anyone to occupy it. It was well known that this individual harbored an intense aversion to anything not belonging to him, and Qin Lang's actions could very well have signed his death warrant. "Why are you standing there like a fool? Don't you know to serve the drinks?" Qin Lang reprimanded a Sakura server in fluent Dragon Kingdom dialect. The petite server twitched at the corner of his mouth, but dutifully approached with a tray, offering drinks to Qin Lang. Most were oblivious to the fact that this server was, in truth, a high-ranking Sakura ninja, classified as a chunin. He had already marked Qin Lang for death in his mind, convinced that this man was doomed. Nevertheless, he planned to act against Qin Lang before the esteemed individual could express his wrath. However, just as he was about to draw his concealed kunai, Qin Lang seized a wine bottle from the tray and smashed it against the chunin's forehead with a resounding crash, shouting, "What kind of rubbish is this? Serving guests with such inferior wine. Bring me the finest Maodai from the Dragon Kingdom. I want to tolerate this cat urine masquerading as wine." Baka. Furious, the chunin brandished his kunai and lunged towards Qin Lang's neck. Before Qin Lang could react, the soldier beside him surged forward like a coiled tiger, delivering a powerful punch. The cherry blossom shinobi hastily raised his arms in front of him to block. Bang! A tremendous sound erupted. Junzi's strength was so immense that it exceeded the limits of human bones. Visibly, the shinobi's arm shattered, revealing stark white bones, severed from flesh. Yet, this was not the end. Junzi's fist surged forward, crashing into the shinobi's chest, producing a chilling cacophony as a massive dent formed in his ribcage, propelling him violently backward into the embrace of the scarred man. Baka! The scarred man hurled the shinobi's lifeless body aside, seizing a nearby katana, and charged toward Qin Lang with a slashing motion. His speed was extraordinary, beyond the capability of an ordinary person to withstand. However, this time, even Junzi remained idle, as a crimson dagger seemingly emerged from nowhere, gliding along the back of the scarred man's hand. In an instant, all 5 fingers, along with their bones, were severed and fell away. The thrower of the dagger exhibited an exquisite technique, as if discerning the very structure of the bones, slicing through the gaps with a single, astonishing blow. The bar erupted into chaos as several concealed ninjas revealed themselves. Yet, one by one, crimson daggers were simultaneously hurled, each striking vital points, resulting in immediate fatalities. Among the fallen were not a few mid-level shinobi. The scarred man clutched his bleeding hand, gritting his teeth in agony as he glared at Qin Lang. Qin Lang shook his head in disinterest. "A year ago, did someone not instruct you that when encountering individuals from the Dragon Kingdom in Kalen, one should speak the language of the Dragon Kingdom? How is it that you have so quickly forgotten? The Dark Blade is undeniably a force to be reckoned with in Kalen, remarkably powerful, second only to the Hidden Kill. In the original narrative, it represents a significant organization in the mid-game, with the Dark Blade's master holding the highest role. After all, this master is none other than the unparalleled beauty of the land of cherry blossoms. Some secrets may elude others, but to Qin Lang, they're devoid of mystery." The scarred man, gritting his teeth, his eyes reflecting a flicker of terror, spoke in halting Dragon Kingdom language. "Are you one of Hidden Kill?" Beneath his gaze lay not only panic, but also a torrent of indignation. It was a humiliation that their Dark Blade could not expunge with blood. Years ago, Hidden Kill had dispatched a single individual who had exterminated all 3 of their elite shinobi, and to this day, they had not identified that assassin. It was because of an earlier incident where they, the Dark Blade, had exploited a language barrier to slay a Dragon Kingdom citizen that Hidden Kill retaliated with such ferocity. They were warned that henceforth, when encountering individuals from the Dragon Kingdom, they were to communicate in their language. Qin Lang smiled and shook his head. "While it is true that I am indeed a citizen of the Dragon Kingdom, I must apologize. I have no association with Hidden Kill. Leverage? No. There is absolutely no necessity." Hidden Kill, with just one individual, struck down 3 elite shinobi of the Dark Blade. instilling such fear that nearly all of the Darkblade learned the Dragon Kingdom language. Hidden Kill may hold the Darkblade in check, but Qin Lang, too, can dominate the master of the Darkblade. Swish, swish, swish. In the brief interlude of conversation, Matsushita, seated not far away, had already torn off his human mask, transforming into a shadow that surged into the crowd. One ninja after another, one warrior after another, fell victim to his swift assaults. 1, 5, 10, 30. The total number of ninjas and warriors present was scarcely over 100, yet within mere minutes, a third of them had been mercilessly slain. Moreover, a dozen armed members of the Sakura faction were also pierced through the throat by daggers. Ishihara Kanai. Today, I, Qin Lang, the leader of the Sea Emperor gang, pay my respects. I wonder if I might have the honor of meeting the fair maiden? Qin Lang called out from the luxurious sofa, addressing the floor above. Logically, the elusive leader of the Darkblade should have remained with Kalan, considering the multitude of enemies she had in Sakura. If she were to return, countless adversaries would seek her demise, which is why she had been living incognito until now. Few within the Darkblade's upper echelon were privy to her true identity. Qin Lang had no intention of wasting time waiting for some preposterous upper ninja to emerge and engage in a tedious exchange of hundreds or thousands of moves. It was utterly meaningless. Merely the mention of Ishihara Kanai was enough to rouse the Darkblade's enigmatic leader. Capture the ringleader first. Qin Lang held considerable interest in this shadowy figure, not only due to her ethereal beauty revered throughout Sakura in her youth, but also because of her unique attributes. Coupled with the influence of her nation, the traditional courtship approach would not suffice for a woman so layered in fortune. When dealing with such a formidable figure, one must adopt a more assertive stance. Much like with Insha, one must simply seize her head and be done with it. Chapter 301. The noblewoman Ishihara Kanai, the bar fell into a profound silence. Some ninjas, paralyzed with fear, found themselves overawed by the presence of Junzi and the blood-red mandala. Here, there were no opponents who could rival the two, especially the blood-red mandala, whose swift and ruthless methods of execution were so dazzlingly swift that one barely had time to react before their arteries were severed, leading to instantaneous demise. Accompanied by Qin Lang's call, the sound of high-heeled shoes echoed down from the upper floor. As the staircase came into view, a striking crimson kimono, specially crafted for Sakura, adorned the figure descending. With each step, long, smooth legs as white as jade subtly revealed glimpses of skin, captivating all who beheld her. Just the sight of those exquisite legs sent waves of admiration through the hearts of the majority of Sakura's citizens present. To put it bluntly, none among the ninjas or warriors harbored anything but lustful thoughts toward the enigmatic leader. Each thought grew increasingly fervent, yet due to various constraints, they dared not voice their desires. The mastermind behind the Darkblade was, in fact, such a stunning woman. Even Junzi couldn't help but scratch the back of his head at this revelation. Her face, pure and breathtakingly beautiful, appeared as if sculpted by celestial hands, embodying perfection and delicacy. Adding a touch of weight leads to an increase, while a reduction results in a slender form. Though she resembles a pure and delicate water lily emerging from the depths, this enigmatic figure exudes an aura of authority akin to that of a noblewoman, formidable and intimidating, compelling one to avert their gaze. The Dark Master descends the staircase with deliberate grace, raising her slender arm, a smile of praise gracing her lips as she lightly claps her hands. Truly, she epitomizes the prowess of the assassin's leaderboard, effortlessly capable of dispatching even elite shinobi, let alone the CHNine present in this space. Yet, one cannot help but ponder the motive behind your repeated incursions into my Darkblade territory, where you have brazenly taken lives. Do you simply perceive my faction as vulnerable, ripe for your unbridled slaughter? Your method of killing is exceedingly sophisticated, and your agility is astonishing, as if you have undergone rigorous training specifically for this purpose. It bears striking similarities to the tragic demise of the elite shinobi that transpired within the Darkblade a year prior. Perhaps it can be said that, in the Dark Master's heart, the only assassin capable of achieving such feats is that singular individual. In the past year, my Darkblade has maintained an absence of disputes with the hidden killers, nor have we engaged in any conflicts. Could it be that the hidden killers regard my Darkblade as a threat, seeking to utilize your position as the leader of the assassin's leaderboard to orchestrate our annihilation? As the Dark Master reaches the ground floor, dozens swiftly gather around her, forming a protective barrier, ensuring she does not stand exposed before the blood-colored mandala and Junzi. The blood-colored mandala sheaths her dagger and casts a fleeting glance, asserting, I am not reincarnation, nor do I have any ties to the hidden killers. Not reincarnation? The Dark Master furrows her brow, her perplexed expression evoking sympathy in those who witness it. She is deeply confounded. Is this woman not the reincarnation of a year ago? Who else possesses such remarkable skills, able to traverse her dark blade's stronghold with such ease and kill at will? Does she truly consider her stronghold as a mere marketplace? Miss Ishihara Kanai, have you failed to discern the hierarchy of our encounter? It is I who you ought to acknowledge. If you continue to treat me as though I'm invisible, it leaves me quite unsettled. Qin Lang interrupts the Dark Master's bewilderment, gazing at her with playful intrigue, teasingly suggesting, or do you believe you hold the upper hand, perceiving me merely as a lifeless body unworthy of your attention? The Dark Master turns to face Qin Lang, observing him reclined upon his specially designed sofa. A fleeting glimmer of murderous intent flashes in her eyes, quickly replaced by an exquisite, innocuous smile. Mr. Qin, how could you think such a thing? The illustrious leader of the Sea Emperor gang would never stoop to quibbling with a mere woman. If you're displeased, allow me to apologize on behalf of Kanai here. In your Sakura nation, is an apology merely lip service? Shouldn't T1 offer a toast instead? Or do you consider me, the Sea Emperor's Highness, unworthy of your acknowledgement? Qin Lang, visibly displeased, crosses his legs and glances toward the blood-colored mandala. A dagger was hurled forth with precision, striking a middle ninja squarely in the neck, causing a torrent of blood to pour forth. As the paralyzing toxin infiltrated his system, the ninja clutched his neck and collapsed with a resounding thud, devoid of any breath, lifeless on the spot. Hikari had already intervened. Was Mr. Qin's propensity for violence not a touch excessive? The Master of Shadows pursed her lips, casting a fleeting glance at the fallen ninja before swiftly averting her gaze, betraying not a hint of pity or regret, as if a mere beast had perished. Yet, this beast was one she had nurtured, and the senseless slaughter incited her displeasure, intensifying her concealed murderous intent. Qin Lang found amusement in the scene, a cold smile creeping across his face as he observed Ishihara Hikari's expression. Indeed, this once ethereal beauty from the land of cherry blossoms spoke impeccable Mandarin, flawless to the last syllable. Moreover, her depths of thought were profound. She resembled a fierce matron with a youthful visage. While she might successfully veil her murderous intent from others, it was entirely transparent to his acute instincts of danger. Was this all there was to it? You, the agents of Darkblade, had cast a bomb upon my Sea Emperor gang's stronghold, intending to eradicate us entirely? This was merely the beginning. Reliable intelligence indicated that you had at least 1,000 operatives in Kalan. How many had perished thus far? Not even a tenth. Qin Lang pointed towards Hikari, demanding that within a minute she raise a glass and a toast to him, insisting on a cordial discussion. Otherwise, the consequences would be hers to bear. The leader of Darkblade? Overbearing, yet only to be observed from afar? Nonsense. Such posturing might impress others, but to him, it was nothing but a farcical display. Mr. Qin's demands were, regrettably, beyond Hikari's compliance. Her tone dripped with a hint of anger. She harbored a severe aversion to dirt. And with Qin Lang seated upon her exclusive sofa, he had already been condemned. To make matters worse, he was now being obstinate. A mere leader of the Sea Emperor gang, whom she had never even heard of, had no ties to the hidden assassins. What was there to fear? TSK. Qin Lang clicked his tongue, drawing forth a small, ivory-colored silver handgun from his waist, idly spinning it on his finger. The group of cherry blossom dwellers encircled their master, attempting to shield her with their bodies. However, Qin Lang's target was not Ishihara Hikari. The spinning gun ceased its motion and, with a resounding bang, he fired a bullet toward the carved plaque above. A dull thud echoed as it struck home. Suddenly, a strange curtain descended, revealing a ninja clad in black garb, half of his head obliterated, akin to a smashed watermelon, as he plummeted from the second floor. Chapter 302. The hidden attributes of the samurai warrior with the headless corpse crashing onto the floor, blood splattered everywhere. The acrid scent of iron quickly permeated the air. Just look at it. The elderly figure had been hanging upon that plaque for such an extended period. Should he accidentally fall, would it not cause grievous injury? Qin Lang exhaled through the gun barrel, shaking his head in resignation. Had I not shattered his skull beforehand, where would he have landed after the fall? Crippled for half a lifetime. Junzi remained speechless behind him, though the young master's words were undeniably domineering. They bore a semblance of truth. At the very least, a gunshot to the head would bring no sensation of pain. This old fool. No, how disrespectful. The deceased deserves reverence. Before passing, this old codger endured no torment whatsoever. In stark contrast to the calmness exhibited by Qin Lang and his two companions, chaos erupted among the dark blades. Was that not the esteemed Fujihara? How could Lord Fujihara be there? He was a high-ranking shinobi of the Koga clan. How could he fall to a single shot? Who is this man? How could he possibly know that Lord Fujihara concealed himself there using ninjutsu? A cacophony ensued among the ninjas and samurai, their native tongues clashing in confusion. It was not only the subordinates who were taken aback. Even the face of the Dark Master shifted. A high-ranking shinobi. The one who fell to Qin Lang's bullet was indeed a high-ranking shinobi. Each of them was an indispensable aid to her. While it takes merely a decade or a few years to cultivate a batch of chunin, how many decades must one invest to forge a single genin? With each life lost, her heart bled. Is this what anger looks like? Qin Lang shook his head, devoid of interest, as he twirled the silver handgun once more, abruptly halting it to aim at another position at the bar. Just before the gun would have been aimed, a shadow darted away. Clearly, another high-ranking shinobi, having learned from the fate of the first, had already taken heed of Qin Lang's silver handgun and reacted accordingly. It is well understood that while the prowess of 8J Nin may not entirely rival the enhanced Junzi, suppressing the first child of destiny, Yifeng, who has yet to fully mature, remains within their grasp. Acknowledging the threat from Qin Lang, failing to respond would be nothing short of ludicrous. The first victim had simply never anticipated such an outcome. Bastard. Despicable dragon country scoundrel. Our Koga clan S.J. Nin are unrivaled in the world. Had it not been for your ambush, how could you have so shamelessly slain me? Roared the samurai, whose fingers had been severed. Yet, scarcely had he uttered these words when a sickening sound pierced the air. Another flesh-rending noise echoed, drawing the gaze of all present. A large head soared into the air, blood gushing from the severed neck. The head of the high-ranking shinobi landed with a thud, rolling to rest before the fingerless samurai, whose eyes bulged in disbelief. Fixated on his own decapitated body, until his last breath, he could not fathom that he had evaded Qin Lang's bullet only to fall victim to the blood-red mandala's ambush. No match at all. Is this the caliber of Koga's high-ranking shinobi? Their strength is woefully inadequate. I could slay 10 of their kind without breaking a sweat. The blood-red mandala flicked its crimson dagger, blood droplets scattering, as the blade regained its lethal sharpness, leaving no trace of the carnage behind. After consuming 40 bottles of the physique-enhancing potion, her strength has reached the current limit that the system can provide. Not to mention these elite shinobi. Even the protagonist of this narrative, Chun Fan, might not stand a chance. Of course, this is under the condition that Chun Fan does not become emboldened in the heat of battle and manages to break through at a critical moment. Miss Ishihara Kanai, is this your trump card? Do you truly believe that the 12 elite Koga ninjas hidden within this bar can take the lives of the 3 of us? Qin Lang chuckled, a smirk gracing his lips as his gaze audaciously roamed over Ishihara Kanai. Flippant and arrogant. Indeed, the mastery of these Koga ninjas and ninjutsu has reached a level that even he could not discern through subtlety. Yet, he possesses a heightened sense of danger. No matter how well these elite shinobi conceal themselves, the aura of killing intent cannot be hidden. There are 12 identical presences concealed in various corners of the bar, even upstairs. Perhaps this is the secret weapon in Ishihara Kanai's arsenal. After all, before these 2 elite shinobi are dispatched, she has more than a dozen bodyguards comparable to the unrefined protagonist, Yifeng. What a colossal force this implies. Who are you really? Even the Shadow Master, upon losing 2 elite shinobi, could no longer contain her agitation, her expression shifting dramatically, the surging killing intent rendering her youthful visage increasingly cold. Youthful yet with the air of a noble woman, her coldness forbidding any approach. The layered complexity of Ishihara Kanai's presence became ever more vivid in Qin Lang's mind. What a master of shadows she is. This journey has not been in vain. As always, let us share a drink and converse leisurely. Qin Lang reclined comfortably, observing Ishihara Kanai with an air of nonchalance. The 12 elite shinobi, each unwaveringly loyal to Ishihara Kanai, would not betray her. Such a force, even he would covet. After all, utilizing them as cannon fodder is both thrilling and satisfying. They cannot all be eliminated. Ishihara Kanai's expression turned frigid as she addressed her subordinates, blocking her path with an icy command. Stand aside. My lady, you must not heed his words. He harbors ill intentions and seeks to abduct you. My lady, please do not approach him. A group of Sakura people loudly protested, with some even kneeling in supplication. "Get back!" Ishihara Kanai coldly rebuked, her beautiful eyes filled with determination. The Sakura people exchanged glances, hesitant to defy the Shadow Master's wishes, gradually parting to clear a path. No more obstacles remained before Ishihara Kanai as she gracefully picked up a cup of wine from the table and sauntered forward. Her movements enchanting, the scent of her presence wafting through the air. Beneath her kimono, her long, fair legs stirred the hearts of the men present. When she was within 5 meters, Qin-Lang raised his hand to halt Ishihara Kanai's advance. Afraid? Concerned that Ishihara Kanai might have ulterior motives? No, not at all. Qin-Lang simply could not tolerate the aloof and icy demeanor of Ishihara Kanai. The Dark Lord? A visage revered as divine in the land of Sakura? What of it? She was still merely a woman. So self-righteous, who did she think she was? He was well aware that Ishihara Kanai's hidden attribute was that of a servant of the strong. Whether she was a servant or a gun-devourer mattered little. Before him, none of it would prevail. He yawned, questioning and commanding. "Is it that a kimono you are wearing? How insincere to approach me like this. Serve it to me kneeling with your nation's treasured gift." Chapter 303. Negotiating Collaboration with Ishihara Kanai Baka. "You have gone too far. With such a distinguished status, how dare you presume to speak to me in this manner?" Qin-Lang's words incited the fury of the group of samurai and ninjas behind him. In their eyes, the Dark Lord was akin to a celestial being, untouched by the mundane world. They held her in high esteem, refusing to allow even the slightest affront. How could Qin-Lang humiliate the Dark Lord before their very eyes? Bang! 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 Qin-Lang raised his hand, firing several shots. 2 samurai fell dead on the spot, while one ninja narrowly evaded the bullets by swiftly moving away. Yet, before they could revel in their survival, the blood mandala transformed into a shadow, swiftly severing the throat of a middle-ranking ninja. "Miss Ishihara Kanai, your subordinates seem quite displeased with me," Qin-Lang remarked, shaking his head as he pointed to the floor nearby. "I hope there will be no further objections from you. I have already afforded you an opportunity. You may choose to seize it or disregard my counsel." With that, he no longer gazed upon Ishihara Kanai's exquisite youthful visage, but instead embraced the blood mandala, who had returned after dispatching the ninja, and playfully teased, "Within this dark blade, there are 12 elite ninjas, one of whom is particularly formidable. Can you handle it? They lurk in the shadows while I stand in the light. It is uncertain, but undoubtedly no one will dare to act against you in my presence." The blood mandala's gaze remained indifferent as she snorted softly. It was a confidence stemming from deep within. She had subdued even the cycle of reincarnation multiple times, let alone these ninjas from Sakura. The so-called elite ninja were merely swift and elusive. Should it come to a one-on-one confrontation, they might not even withstand Junzi's might. At that moment, Junzi, with a keen sense of the situation, solemnly remarked from behind, "Young master, rest assured, you one team need to intervene." His strength had surged too rapidly of late. Even those old companions of Huang were no longer worthy sparring partners. This was the perfect opportunity to test how many of these dark blade samurai and ninjas could withstand the force of his massive fists. In stark contrast to Qin-Lang's composure, Ishihara Kanai's expression darkened. She was certain that the female assassin before her possessed power that rivaled the reincarnation that had previously slain 3 elite ninjas from her dark blade. Moreover, the burly figure beside her was unmatched in strength among her warriors. She felt a sense of astonishment, even confusion. When did Kalan come to possess a Sea Emperor gang, and with such formidable experts at its helm? Observing the current situation, both the female assassin and the burly man exhibited unwavering loyalty to the Sea Emperor, as if they were bound by an unbreakable allegiance. Should hostilities continue, regardless of whether the Sea Emperor gang had other hidden cards, the mere presence of this man and woman could inflict severe damage upon her dark blade. Even if she were to emerge victorious, it would be at a great cost, leaving her vulnerable and precariously positioned within Kalan. After much hesitation, Shi Yuan Huannai finally cast aside her reservations. She bowed towards Qin-Lang, kneeling gracefully as if seated upon a tatami mat, and with delicate movements, she approached him, raising her hands in a toast, offering a drink in homage. Truly, the etiquette of the Sakura Kingdom's royalty was impeccable. Qin-Lang, with a hint of amusement, surveyed her from his elevated stance, noting the exquisite allure concealed beneath her flowing kimono. Shi Yuan Huannai's expression shifted dramatically. Upon hearing Qin-Lang's words, her composure shattered. How could he possibly know so much? The man before her had uncovered her concealed identity, one she had hidden for years. Even among the elite of Darkblade, few possessed such knowledge. This identity, nearly forgotten, echoed hauntingly from the lips of a stranger, instilling within her a profound sense of dread, as if she were laid bare. Exposed without pretense. Qin Lang chuckled lightly, aware that his understanding was limited to what was commonly known and some obscure truths. For instance, he was cognizant of the blood-soaked vendetta she bore, and that the 12 elite shinobi standing behind her were indeed from the Koga clan, united in their support for her. Biding their time in Kulan, awaiting the day she would reclaim her rights and identity in the Sakura Kingdom. After all, these were merely fragments of the past. Sure, Yuan Huanai, in the latter parts of the original narrative, was a character of great significance, a bearer of fortune. And Qin Lang could not possibly be ignorant of her story. However, he had not anticipated that someone from the Darkblade would dare to challenge him in Kulan's stronghold. Had it not been for that, he would have sought out his second senior sister directly instead of pursuing Sure Yuan Huanai. Mr. Qin, there are matters we may need to discuss in detail. Would you accompany me upstairs? Sure Yuan Huanai extended an invitation. Qin Lang yawned, feeling lethargic and uninterested in moving. This place suffices for me. I simply find it a bit too crowded. Allow me to clear the area. With a wave of his hand, the blood-red mandala and Junzi surged towards the group of warriors and ninjas. Within moments, anguished cries filled the bar, and in less than 10 minutes, the once whispering Sakura people lay lifeless, transformed into mere corpses. Those who fell to the blood-red mandala were fortunate enough to retain their forms in death. The individuals targeted by Junzi met with a fate so brutal that it defies description. Countless bones were shattered, organs pierced, and blood flowed incessantly. It is perplexing how Junzi, a retired Special Forces operative, unleashed such ferocity upon the people of the Sakura Kingdom, as if an additional layer of crimson fury had enveloped him, resulting in catastrophic devastation. Now, tranquility has returned. Not a whisper of the affairs concerning the Sakura royal princess or the defection of the Koga clan shall escape this place. Qin Lang made a considerate promise. Shiera Kana's complexion darkened. Although the CH Nin and samurai are not particularly rare, the sudden loss of so many of them stirred a visceral pain within her. Fear not, they are but a disorganized rabble. If they were truly capable of rising to power, how could you have survived in this Quran for so many years? Since your flight from Sakura, has a single J-Nin emerged? Or do you believe that the numerous J-Nin who once aided your escape could return to wreak havoc after years of inactivity? Qin Lang spoke with confidence and persuasive clarity. Sometimes, those who lack reliability ultimately remain unreliable. My arrival today presents you with both an opportunity and a calamity. Should you be willing to invest something, rewards shall surely follow. Of course, if you are unwilling, I shall seize what I desire regardless. Chapter 304. The disparity between the woman of destiny, Shiera Kana, fell silent. Though Qin Lang's words bore a menacing undertone, they held a kernel of truth. If she could exact vengeance with the J-Nin under her command, she would not have had to flee to this Quran. Are you hesitating here, fearing that your loyal J-Nin might overhear your innermost thoughts? Perhaps we should retire upstairs. If you find it unappealing, you need only sit in silence. But if it stirs your feelings, then act upon them. Qin Lang made a considerate suggestion. No sooner had he spoken than a dagger whizzed towards Shiera Kana, who knelt on the ground. In an instant, she evaded her original position with remarkable speed. The blood-colored mandala advanced menacingly, launching a relentless assault aimed directly at her stunning visage. Anger surged within her. This foreign vixen dared to feign modesty in her presence? Such a creature clearly understood the allure of unattainable men, preying upon their desires. How dare she entertain such ambitions before her? After several exchanges, the blood-colored mandala regarded the evasive Shiera Kana with a furrowed brow and a cold smirk. Truly, as the Dark Master of the Darkblade, her prowess rivaled that of A. J. Nin. Evidently, I underestimated you. Just as she prepared to escalate her assault, Qin Lang interjected. Stop. What do you think you're doing? Did I not make it clear that you must obey while here? The blood-colored mandala halted her advance, clapped her hands, and rolled her eyes seductively. I wasn't truly going to kill her. I merely sensed your intentions and thought to warm up your meal. Now it is settled. The sweat has poured and the dishes have grown warm. Do as you please. Mr. Qin, is this truly your sincerity? Had it not been for Renai's childhood training in the art of, she might have already fallen prey to the hands of that female assassin under your command. Shihara Renai felt a surge of indignation, directing a cold glare towards Qin Lang. As the esteemed master of the Dark Blade, she wielded the power over the lives of thousands at a mere thought. Never had she endured such humiliation, nor had she come so perilously close to being captured by the Scarlet Mandala. Do not be angered. Come here for a moment. We shall speak of matters slowly. Qin Lang beckoned, and as Renai approached, he picked up a half-finished glass of wine and offered it to her. Drink this and calm your temper. Mr. Qin, do you mean to dismiss Renai with merely a glass of wine? Is my life so trivial in your eyes? Renai's alluring expression revealed her innate charm, reminiscent of a beguiling enchantress. One must admit, while the Scarlet Mandala might harbor jealousy, she certainly did not misjudge Renai. This woman from the land of cherry blossoms was indeed a siren. Though she presented herself as an elegant lady, one could only wonder what she truly was when unobserved. How absurd. Miss Renai, your life holds immense value in my eyes. I cherish it dearly. Qin Lang maintained his gesture of offering the wine. Renai cast a glance towards the Scarlet Mandala before returning her gaze to Qin Lang. Then, Mr. Qin, why do you not seek justice for Renai? Just now, I did not offend this sister in the slightest, nor did I intrude upon her. Spinning top, Qin Lang's voice turned cold as he fixed his gaze upon the Scarlet Mandala, his displeasure evident. The Scarlet Mandala, feeling affronted, raised her head with the haughtiness of a black swan, snorting disdainfully. What is it? Come here. Kin nan kommanditin an unten yabletona. The Scarlet Mandala stood frozen, astonished that Renai's mere words could provoke such concern from Qin Lang, compelling him to raise his voice. Did the time spent together not outweigh the presence of a mere enchantress from the land of cherry blossoms? She felt an unspoken frustration and resentment welling within her, her grip tightening around her dagger, yearning to mar Renai's visage. Yet, she refrained, uncertain of how Qin Lang would react to such an act, or how he might choose to punish her. Come here. Qin Lang repeated firmly. The Scarlet Mandala stuttered, her unwillingness evident. However, upon witnessing Qin Lang's serious demeanor, she dared not retort and reluctantly began to approach him. Renai observed the Scarlet Mandala's unwillingness with a barely perceptible glimmer of satisfaction in her eyes. She recognized that she was no match for the Scarlet Mandala and understood that the earlier jest had been at her expense. Yet, even without harboring murderous intent, there are consequences to be paid for having been toyed with. And now, Qin Lang had become her instrument of retribution. As the blood-colored mandala approached, it evoked a sense of revulsion akin to encountering the living Lin Xuanquan, compelling one to lower their head reluctantly. At that moment, Qin Lang extended his hand, abruptly pulling the blood-colored mandala into his embrace, and in a swift motion, a cup of wine splashed violently across the exquisite visage of Sierra Kana, the glass itself striking her flawless forehead. He erupted in vehement curses. You dare demand an apology for my mandala? What are you exactly? A princess of the Sakura nation? In my eyes, you are merely a dog. Remember your place. I grant you favor, allowing you to endure. Should I choose not to, you have no right to insist. Do not think my mandala has treated you lightly. Even if I were to carve 10 or 8 gashes across your face, you would have to accept it without protest. Sierra Kana stared in shock, her face still glistening with wine, her beautiful eyes wide with disbelief as she gazed at Qin Lang, her body trembling with fury. Suddenly, 3 shadows surged towards Qin Lang with an eerie swiftness. The blood-colored mandala, nestled in his embrace, revealed a flash of crimson in her eyes before breaking free. Wielding a dagger in each hand, she struck with alarming speed. In a single encounter, she lethally dispatched the 3 appearing elite shinobi, their severed heads rolling across the floor with a sickening thud. She lifted her gaze, her voice clear yet undeniably commanding. If you dare lay a hand on my man, you shall perish. In that moment, the blood-colored mandala's heart surged with murderous intent. How dare these mere Sakura shinobi act with such impudence before her? How dare they target her man? They were utterly foolish. Sierra Kana stood agape, unable to fathom the scene before her. 3 elite shinobi, dispatched in an instant by this female assassin. She could scarcely believe her eyes. These were the elite of the Koga clan, each honed over decades, possessing exceptional talent to attain such strength. The entire Koga clan comprised no more than 30 individuals. Yet here, before the blood-colored mandala, they were slaughtered like mere swine. Now, within the ranks of the Dark Blade, only 9 elite shinobi remained, even if some possessed strength beyond that of an elite. Sierra Kana felt no assurance in their survival. Before the blood-colored mandala, her confidence wavered. You had your chance, yet you proved useless. Who can you blame? Qin Lang stepped forward, grasping Sierra Kana's delicate chin, lifting it slightly to look down upon her with a slight smirk, a hint of amusement dancing at the corners of his mouth. From this day forth, this territory belongs to the Sea Emperor Gang, and the Dark Blade shall be under its dominion. Every command of the Sea Emperor Gang must be obeyed. Do you understand? Sierra Kana felt the painful grip on her chin, yet she made no move to resist. Only now did she realize the terrifying aura emanating from the man before her. After being ensnared by his fierce gaze, it felt as though she were traversing through a dark night, with a ravenous wolf tracking her every move, sending a chill racing down her spine. She anxiously realized that her initial impression might have been misguided. Among the trio, it was not the female assassin or the burly man who wielded the greatest power, but rather this seemingly frail young master before her, who was the true formidable force. If Mr. Chin is willing to recruit my Dark Blade as the Shadow Master, I shall offer my unconditional allegiance. Standing on her toes to alleviate the pain, Sierra Kana gazed upon him with reverence for the strong, whispering her heartfelt desire to follow a powerful leader. Given the current strength of the Dark Blade, returning to the land of cherry blossoms seemed an unattainable dream. With Mr. Chin's assistance, Kana would undoubtedly exact her revenge. You have yet to earn the right to negotiate with me. Qin Lang pushed Sierra Kana aside, sneering, obeying orders is the obligation of your Dark Blade. As for your deep-seated vendetta, that depends on my mood. Perhaps one day, when I feel inclined, I might take a stroll through your cherry blossom land. But for now, there are a multitude of matters awaiting your attention. At the local armed forces office in Kolan, after the explosion, a massive breach had appeared in the lower levels of the building, leaving chaos in its wake, with casualties among the local armed forces exceeding 50. Had it not been for the building's substantial size, and the fact that the explosion's impact did not reach the load-bearing walls, the destruction could have been magnified tenfold. Have you uncovered anything? Who placed the bomb? Nick stood behind his desk, slamming the surface in fury, his voice booming as he berated the small leaders before him. Spittle flying a meter away. Anger. Uncontainable rage. Their local armed forces had only recently eradicated the remnants of the previous regime, painstakingly solidifying their position. Yet before they could gain international recognition, they faced this humiliating assault. This was not merely a matter of casualties. It was a blow to their pride. They prided themselves as the local armed forces of Kolan, claiming to be the guiding light for its people. Yet, before they could earn the trust of the citizens, it seemed their very bulb had exploded. Observing Nick's face redden with fury, one of the small leaders swallowed hard and nervously reported, after the explosion, I immediately organized a lockdown of the area. Not a single fly could escape. Following a thorough search and investigation, we found no suspicious individuals. Given the magnitude of this explosion, it is likely that the bomb size was not something that could be easily concealed. Any anomalies would have been detected at the checkpoints and sentries. It is highly probable that those Dragon Kingdom individuals, who came and left, are responsible. What a remarkable coincidence. Such explosions have never occurred in this building before. Their arrival and subsequent departure coincided with the blast. It must be the work of those cunning Dragon Kingdom people, especially the two women who accompanied them, neither of whom can be considered virtuous, flaunting their assets to entice men. Following closely behind, several minor leaders began to cast aspersions upon Qin Lang and his companions. Among them, some exhibited an insatiable greed when mentioning Mu Yuyin and Lin Yuchu. Chapter 306. Ishihara Kanai becomes a servant curse you buck. Were it not for your nefarious intentions towards those two women from the Dragon Kingdom, we would not be ensnared in this predicament. Nick's voice boomed, his eyes tinged with red. You have provoked the Dragon Kingdom. I have warned you repeatedly. They are formidable, so powerful that our entire Kalen cannot hope to unsettle even a square inch of their territory. Even if this incident stems from the actions of those from the Dragon Kingdom, it must never be disclosed to the outside world. What I require is a plausible explanation that everyone can accept, one that will not incite the Dragon Kingdom's animosity towards us. He recalled Qin Lang's arrogant words prior to his departure and had long harbored suspicions that this incident was somehow linked to him. Yet, he could not afford to acknowledge it. If that were the case, the ramifications of this event becoming public would be catastrophic. The world must not learn of this. It could very well provoke the Dragon Kingdom's ire. He contemplated the need for a clever subordinate capable of stepping forward to take the blame. Someone who could manage the situation swiftly. As for Qin Lang and the other individuals from the Dragon Kingdom, he would deal with them covertly. But who could have anticipated that these fools would fail to grasp his intentions? Their stupidity was astonishing. Or a few individuals from the Dragon Kingdom to him. This was Kalen, where the local armed forces held dominion. Why should they fear a nation thousands of miles away? With such a vast territory, how many would even notice if one or two perished in a foreign land? Moreover, they had grown so brazen. What more was there to consider? Simply dispatch troops to suppress them and subsequently seal off the news. Buck scoffed loudly, his confidence swelling. As time passed and the local armed factions evolved, he began to relish the privileges that power conferred. The women he once dared not dream of possessing were now his. And the wealth he once considered unattainable was freely offered by countless Kalan people. He believed that as long as he commanded armed personnel, all fears were trivial. Fear, he thought, stemmed from insufficient firepower. He even entertained a notion that once Qin Lang was dealt with, the two women by his side could remain. Buck was resolute. What the Dragon Kingdom? Their arrogance demanded a reckoning. The minor leaders stirred with excitement and agreement. Ah, quite the spectacle we have here, Mr. Nick. Are you convening a rally to take my head? At that moment, a playful voice echoed from outside the office. The door, once closed, had been pushed open, revealing a slender figure leaning against the doorframe, casting a teasing glance at the unfolding scene. Behind him stood two stunningly attractive women, their figures undeniably captivating. A woman clad in a tight black outfit moved gracefully, her figure reminiscent of a seductive serpent, exuding allure and charm. Another woman, dressed in a kimono adorned with cherry blossom patterns, bore a serious demeanor. Her exquisite youthful visage radiated an air of aloofness, akin to that of an aristocrat. Ishihara Kana was reluctant to find herself in such a place, as she had an innate aversion to dirtiness, and her residence was meticulously kept. Even the slightest hint of uncleanliness would cause her discomfort. Moreover, this office building had recently endured the ravages of a bombing, leaving behind a landscape of crumbling walls, shattered stones, and tainted blood. Yet, in the presence of Qin Lang, she felt devoid of any choice. How dare you come here? Nick glared at Qin Lang, his body trembling with rage, utterly shocked that this individual had the audacity to enter his office at such a moment. What was happening? Were the guards outside utterly inept? Had they failed to recognize even these three individuals from the Dragon Nation? With swift motions, several small leaders drew their handguns, poised to act, but Nick interjected in Kellen. Commanding, stop. Mr. Nick, these individuals are from the Dragon Nation. This is an opportune moment to capture them all. They've come seeking death, and we have no reason to let them go. The small leader's eyes gleamed with ferocity. Buck's gaze fixated on the blood-red Mandrake and Ishihara Kana behind Qin Lang, his greed intensifying. He found it perplexing why this slender individual from the Dragon Nation was surrounded by so many alluring women. Two in front, two behind. Could it be that this slender man's physique was more enticing than his own? Cease at once. Nick's voice boomed with icy authority. The small leaders exchanged apprehensive glances, refraining from defying Nick's command, for his status here was paramount, holding their fates in his hands. Even the most tempestuous among them, Buck, had to suppress his avarice and lower his weapon. Qin Lang strolled in with a smile, his gaze lingering on Buck's face for a brief moment. Unperturbed, he approached the desk, pulled out Nick's chair, and sat down casually, hands clasped atop the table. He tilted his head, gazing at Nick, whose eyes seemed to blaze with fury, and provocatively asked, "Have you considered the matter regarding the mistreatment of my woman?" Is a response forthcoming? With a stern expression, Nick demanded, "Did you place the bomb today?" Without a moment's hesitation, Qin Lang nodded. "Indeed, who else could it be?" What a jest. I utilized high-grade explosives. Though the quantity was modest, the power is immense. With your meager resources in this insignificant place, do you truly believe you could manufacture such technology? Chapter 307. The strong ones emerge, seated in Nick's chair. He wore an expression of indifference while mercilessly mocking the assembled local Kellan armed leaders. This vast office was filled with these individuals who, in the outside world, were known for their quick triggers, ready to shoot at anyone who displeased them. Yet now, one could only gaze at Qin Lang in bewilderment, unable to comprehend the meaning behind his words. However, observing his arrogant demeanor, they seethed with indignation. "Qin Lang, do you truly hold me in such contempt? You dare to acknowledge your actions in my presence? Do you really believe I am powerless to retaliate against you?" Nick's expression darkened as he took a slight step back, casting a discreet glance at his subordinates below. Without the need for words, a small leader promptly drew a firearm, intending to aim it at Qin Lang's head. However, how could their skills possibly compare to those of the Crimson Mandala? Not only the Crimson Mandala, but even Shira Kana's agility was beyond the imagination of these local thugs. A shuriken struck perfectly, embedding itself in the forehead of the small leader who had drawn his pistol, causing him to fall back lifelessly. Why kick me? With your speed? Wouldn't it be trivial to dispose of these worthless beings? Shere Khanna remarked with a stern expression, casting an annoyed glance at the Crimson Mandala as she complained. Standing there unharmed, she felt it was unjust to be kicked in the rear. Anyone would feel discontented. The Crimson Mandala let out a cold laugh, asserting, "Now that you are here, do you think you can remain idle? Just because you wear a slightly fancier outfit does not mean you can shirk your responsibilities. Here, my man holds the highest position. I am second. You hold no status." With that, the Crimson Mandala deftly flicked several small concealed weapons from her fingers, striking down 2 more small leaders, claiming their lives. Shere Khanna kept throwing shurikens downwards, piercing the arms, wrists, and shoulders of the small leaders one after another. Initially targeting only those reaching for their guns, she soon began to strike at anyone she merely caught in her gaze. It was as if she were venting her pent-up fury. The shurikens, seemingly worthless, were carelessly tossed aside. "Mr. Chin, I do not expect you to show favoritism towards me. But is it too much to ask for even a modicum of fairness? If that is not possible, I find myself feeling quite insecure." Shere Khanna looked at Qin Lang, her voice tinged with a sense of grievance. She did not aspire for his affection, nor did she wish to supplant the Crimson Mandala's position. She merely sought not to be marginalized or bullied by that woman. After all, she could neither compete in strength nor status. It would be better to seek an opportunity to escape, were it not for Qin Lang's enigmatic nature and formidable background in strength. In her desire to leverage his power to avenge her grievances against Sakura, she would never tolerate such indignities. Even during her flight from Sakura, she had never endured such treatment. Any conflicts should be resolved later. Do not let personal vendettas interfere with our business. This time, Qin Lang did not unconditionally favor the Crimson Mandala. At times, when it is necessary to wield a heavy hand, one must do so without hesitation. Conversely, when it is time to bestow kindness, one should not falter. After all, Shere Khanna possesses a modicum of value, and if she were to endure excessive indignities, she might not remain. Moreover, he had admonished the two together, ensuring that the blood-red mandala would temper its fervor, and Shere Khanna would dare not report in secret again. It was a double-edged strategy, advantageous in every sense. The 2 women stood obediently, one on either side of Qin Lang, though their glances ignited a simmering anger between them. Yet, under Qin Lang's stern warning, they refrained from any overt conflict. Nick observed the leisurely demeanor of Qin Lang and the 2 women, and then glanced at his own side, feeling an internal tempest brewing. With 20 armed individuals at his command, he found it ironic that he could not even draw a weapon in the presence of these 2 women. How utterly ironic. How profoundly shocking. "Mr. Qin, who exactly are you? I am aware of your significant influence, and I understand that with our limited power, we cannot affect you. I have no desire to be your adversary, and even here in Kellen, we will extend respect to any compatriot from the Dragon Kingdom. Can we not put an end to this dispute? Should we persist in opposition?" He feared that should he continue to act aggressively, he might not even escape the confines of this office. Moreover, given the combat prowess of the 2 women beside Qin Lang, who could predict the magnitude of trouble they might invoke? Even if he possessed the capability to eliminate Qin Lang, as long as those 2 women lived, he would find no peace. Furthermore, who could ascertain whether there were other inscrutable experts lurking in Qin Lang's vicinity? While he aspired to restore dignity to the local armed forces of Kellen, such ambitions paled in comparison to the value of life. Was he to succumb to fear? Had he not just moments ago been brimming with bravado, believing the sheer numbers would enable him to retain his standing? Qin Lang found amusement in this. Teasing in fluent local Kellen dialect, a cliché indeed. "Let us sever this fellow's head and display it at your office building for 3 days and nights." Publicly announcing that he was slain for provoking a citizen of the Dragon Kingdom. He gestured towards Buck, reiterating his suggestion. Although he could easily dispatch Buck at will, he found no merit in such an act. What does it mean to strike at the heart? Was Nick not intent on protecting his subordinates? Had Buck not become emboldened by his past achievements? Very well, he would now shatter this facade of camaraderie before the eyes of these petty leaders. His repeated visits to the office building indicated that he sought more than mere retribution against Buck. He envisioned manipulating the local armed forces from behind the scenes. Regardless of the local armed forces' shortcomings, they could still muster a force of thousands, a veritable horde of expendables, which Qin Lang could not simply ignore. To dismantle the power structure within the local armed forces, he must first obliterate the faith that resided within their hearts. This was the rationale behind his choice to speak in the Kellen tongue. Impossible. Although Buck is guilty, his crimes do not warrant death. especially considering that he has not even met anyone to deserve such torment. Nick scoffed, resolutely refusing without a moment's hesitation. With so many witnesses present, no matter how fearful he was for his life, he would never brazenly sacrifice the lives of his subordinates to save himself. Such an act would only dishearten those loyal to him, leading to a loss of authority, rendering him incapable of commanding respect in the future. Damn those from the Dragon Country. If you have the courage, just kill me. There is no need to threaten Mr. Nick. Is it not merely a death? Before I perish, I will bite a piece of flesh from you. Buck, rugged and imposing, charged towards Qin Lang like a fierce beast, intent on taking him down with him. Suddenly, two concealed weapons struck Buck's legs, and he fell to the ground like a large black dog, landing in a most undignified manner. Before Buck could stir the bloodlust of the underlings below, a single phrase from Qin Lang quelled their fury. Remember, every action you take now is being scored. Perform well, and after this ordeal, you shall attain a status and power far greater than you possess now. Perform poorly, and you shall hang alongside Buck in front of the office building. Qin Lang chuckled lightly, his gaze sweeping across the faces of the surviving subordinates, finally settling on Nick. After all, you are a distinguished Ritter Ni from the Dragon Country, equipped with both knowledge and courage. Do you truly wish to confine yourself to be the third in command of an unrecognized organization in this small corner of Kellen? Are you satisfied with your current position? Or do you believe those above you genuinely trust you? Once Kellen stabilizes and the local militia is defeated, do you think you can maintain your current standing? Each question reverberated in Nick's mind, awakening his apprehensions. It was impossible to claim he felt no worry. This was Kellen, not a major power. To put it plainly, even if the local armed forces gained complete control, they would never achieve international recognition. At most, they would possess a small territory and wield greater influence to coerce certain organizations in the lawless regions into collaboration, sharing the spoils. Wealth stirs the heart. Once Kellen is stabilized, disputes over the distribution of wealth are certain to ignite internal conflict. At that point, whether he could survive would be in question. His resources and personnel were no match for those at the top. Some matters are not as simple as one might think. Here, you may come and go freely, but in certain places, layers of firepower prevent any approach. It is crucial to understand that the greater the power, the deeper the fear of death. Nick did not explicitly state it, but the security measures of both the local militia's leaders were intimidating, even to him. Moreover, what the individuals surrounding Qin Lang? No matter how swift one may be, can they truly eliminate a single person, or even 10? What of 100? 1,000, perhaps? It appears your courage is still lacking. With a sigh, Qin Lang shook his head and lightly clapped his hands. Outside the office, a series of footsteps echoed. One after another, black-clad ninjas entered, each carrying the severed heads of the Quran people, meticulously arranged in a neat row. 9 heads in total lay exposed, devoid of any concealment. A collective gasp filled the office as everyone beheld the once formidable leaders, now gruesomely displayed in such a manner, sending a chill down their spines. Particularly for Nick, his eyes widened in shock as he gazed at the 2 heads positioned at the center. Those belonged to the chief and the deputy chief. The Quran, known for their fear of death and exceptional security measures, had been slaughtered by Qin Lang. He stared at the heads for a prolonged moment before swiftly turning to Qin Lang, wishing to speak. Yet, Qin Lang raised his hand to interrupt him, directing his gaze towards the ninjas with a hint of suspicion. There are 6 local leaders. You were instructed to handle 5. How is it that you return with 9 heads? One of the higher-ranking ninjas glanced at the shadowy figure beside Qin Lang and, in a subdued tone, replied, "Some Quran individuals possess peculiar preferences." Realization dawned upon Qin Lang as he surveyed the 9 heads. Curiosity piqued. So, 5 leaders with 4 male companions? That leaves 1 who is normal, correct? Point them out for me. The ninja indicated the chief's head. As Qin Lang regarded the vacant-eyed visage, he remarked, though deceased, "One must acknowledge the fortitude it takes to uphold one's principles, even in such dire circumstances." The higher-ranking ninja shook his head. "Mr. Qin, you misunderstand. The 4 men were killed while in the chief's bed." Bang! Qin Lang drew his weapon and, with a single shot, obliterated the already lifeless head of the chief. He glared at Nick, his expression cold. "Speak plainly. Do not dawdle." Nick swallowed hard, refraining from unnecessary words. He strode over to Buck, brandishing a small knife, and with brutal determination, severed Buck's head before bowing towards Qin Lang. "Mr. Qin, I submit to your command and offer my humble service." No amount of words could convey sincerity as effectively as action. Witnessing the assassination of the local leaders had thoroughly instilled respect in him for Qin Lang, whether for the sake of survival or the pursuit of greater power. Buck's severed head, held aloft, bled profusely, with remnants of consciousness flickering within. In his final moments, he could scarcely fathom that his head would be taken in such a brutal manner by Nick. Anger, resentment, and frustration flooded his thoughts. In his mind, there was nothing but regret. If given the choice, he would rather perish than offend those two women from the Dragon Kingdom again. Thud! Thud! The surviving little leaders cast down their firearms and prostrated themselves before Qin Lang. They were oblivious to any rules or etiquette. All they knew was to follow the third leader and bang their heads against the concrete slab. In the office, all the remaining Kalen people expressed their willingness to submit to Qin Lang. Shere Khanna observed silently. At that moment, witnessing the local armed leaders capitulate, she realized just how terrifying this enigmatic man beside her truly was. Subduing these Kalen was but one feat. Simultaneously, he had utterly sowed discord among them, eradicating any trust or camaraderie. From henceforth, they would heed only Qin Lang's commands. This was the essence of true terror. This man was utterly unfathomable. A fiery glow emanated from Shere Khanna's captivating gaze as she looked upon Qin Lang's handsome visage, for the first time sensing the unique power that belonged solely to him. Chapter 308. Conspiracy of Silent Assassination. There is no need for me to reiterate the remaining tasks. Is there? Distribute the existing armed personnel among the little leaders present. As for you, Nick, consider yourself fortunate to understand the dragon language. You shall serve as the official spokesperson. Qin Lang spoke with a calm demeanor, denying the Kalen any opportunity for rebuttal, firmly establishing the hierarchy and firepower configuration of the local armed forces. Nick quickly bowed his head, expressing gratitude, assuring, "Rest assured, Mr. Qin, I will do everything in my power to temporarily manage this armed force." Having returned from studying in the Dragon Kingdom, he was acutely aware of the perils. One misstep could lead to a grave fate. His current position as the chief was entirely due to Qin Lang's emergence. If he aligned with Qin Lang, he could once again ascend to the pinnacle of power. However, defiance? His end would be as sudden as those heads behind him, leaving him unaware of who had struck him down. Moreover, none of the Kalen present trusted him. They would undoubtedly strive to curry favor with Qin Lang. Should he make even the slightest misstep, it would not be Qin Lang's men who would strike first. It would be this very group of subordinates vying for merit. With his life intact and power in hand, he was willing to be Qin Lang's follower. He would never betray him. There is a matter that requires your attention, local people. Within the Kalen, there are numerous organizations and factions. I hope you can swiftly uncover the secret bases and main strongholds of the Silent Assassination. The second sister of Silent Assassination is undeniably formidable, a fact beyond dispute. However, this organization is shrouded in mystery, and even the original work fails to mention any specific locations. Even Shere Khanna was unaware of the whereabouts of the main stronghold of Silent Assassination, the very organization that had previously eliminated her 3 esteemed ninjas. To identify such an organization, relying solely on the existing members of the Sea Emperor gang, proves to be quite challenging. It is most opportune to utilize the newly recruited group of cannon fodder from Kalan. If the cannon fodder perishes, we can simply replace them without concern. What is there to be anxious about? Mr. Qin, do you intend to take action against the hidden kill? Nick inquired with trepidation, noticing the furrow in Qin Lang's brow and hastily adding, "Please do not misunderstand. I harbor no intention of defying your orders. However, our local forces in Kalan are not omnipotent. Certain organizations possess formidable and inscrutable strengths, particularly the Dark Blade and Hidden Kill, both of which are shrouded in mystery. Our local armed forces dare not provoke them, lest we invite infinite retribution and assault. Who would have thought that under your leadership? The Dark Blade commands such respect in Kalan?" Qin Lang remarked, glancing at Shere Hikari with a mocking smile. Shere Hikari pursed her lips and gestured towards the row of heads, including that of Buck Galoo. "You see for yourself, do you not? While we cannot swiftly eradicate the local forces in Kalan, eliminating a mere handful of leaders can be accomplished within a single night. It is only because you deem Nick to be of some use that he still stands here conversing with you." She chuckled inwardly, questioning whether Qin Lang was truly unaware of the Dark Blade's strength. She suspected that his interest in the Dark Blade was not driven by a desire for vengeance over past grievances, but rather a mere practicality. His own forces were insufficient, prompting him to incorporate her Dark Blade into his ranks. Nick, lowering his head, absorbed this revelation and could not suppress a gasp of astonishment. So, one of the women standing before him is the fearsome leader of the Dark Blade in Kulan. No wonder. It explains why Qin Lang dares to set his sights on the hidden kill. He intends not only to assimilate the local armed forces of Kulan, but also to subdue some of the hidden powerful factions. At that point, wouldn't the entire Kulan be molded into a veritable fortress under Qin Lang's command? Who would dare oppose his decisions? While Qin Lang dismissed Nick's speculations, he smiled at Shiera Hikari, tactfully steering the conversation toward a particular topic. I am curious about something. While your strength within the Dark Blade allows you to rank among the top, there are certainly those more powerful than you. Even a collaboration of several upper ninjas could easily eliminate you and seize your position, or even imprison you as their plaything. Why then has this never occurred? Moreover, why do these upper ninjas heed your commands without any dissent? Shiera Hikari pressed her lips together, casting a glance at the few cherry blossom upper ninjas who had exited the office. After a moment of contemplation, she gazed intently into Qin Lang's eyes, uncertain whether it was a genuine desire for submission or a fear of inciting Qin Lang's ire. She hesitated before finally revealing her motive. I possess a unique pill that, once ingested, will induce toxic symptoms each month. The torment during those days is unbearable, rendering existence intolerable. Furthermore, there is no remedy for this poison. Only my antidote can alleviate the symptoms. Given that Mr. Qin had already assimilated the Dark Blade, it was only natural for Hashihara Kanai to offer this pill, ensuring that the local armed leaders of Kalen would consume it, thereby preventing any thoughts of rebellion. Administer these to them, Qin Lang directed, gesturing toward Nick. Hashihara Kanai retrieved the dark pills and instructed a shinobi to forcibly administer them to the local leaders. Afterward, they murmured amongst themselves, and Nick, with a sorrowful expression, was compelled to act as a translator, clarifying what the pills were. Initially, they felt a surge of anger, but upon meeting Qin Lang's gaze, their defiance waned completely, leading to their utter submission. Hashihara Kanai glanced around, sighed inwardly, yet maintained her composure as she addressed Qin Lang. The formula for the antidote is rather complex. I will write it down for you when we return. She sought Qin Lang's attention, knowing she could not keep the antidote's formula solely to herself. Otherwise, the local armed forces of Kalen would be at her beck and call. Although she craved power, she was acutely aware that the greater the power, the more individuals would covet it, and it would only heighten Qin Lang's suspicion of her. No need for that. These are inherently yours, and I have no leisure to manage them. Qin Lang dismissed her with a wave of his hand, displaying indifference. Despite her efforts to appear unconcerned, the fleeting glimmer of joy in her eyes was unmistakable. Qin Lang observed silently, a cold smile playing on his lips. Did Hashihara Kanai believe she had gained an advantage? Little did she know, she was merely a puppet responsible for trivial matters. Meanwhile, he only needed to focus on controlling Hashihara Kanai to manipulate the entire situation. Chapter 309. The God of Death's Second Disciple. Enough, you need not kneel here any longer. Go about your business, handle what is necessary, and then proceed to divide the territories and get to work. Qin Lang waved at Nick and the others, urging them to disperse. Efficiency was paramount. With several leaders recently deceased, the local armed forces would inevitably experience a period of turmoil, and keeping Nick around served to maintain order. Once internal unrest was swiftly quelled, they could immediately search for the hidden base and headquarters of the assassins. Nick and the Kalen locals acknowledged his orders before gathering a few severed heads, tidying up briefly, and stumbling out of the office. Within the room, only Qin Lang, the blood-red Mandrake, and Hashihara Kanai remained. Is Mr. Qin truly planning to take action against the hidden assassins? Hashihara Kanai inquired with conviction. Qin Lang chuckled. What's this? Even you, the Dark Master of the Dark Blade, are afraid? Hesitant to confront the hidden assassins? Ishihara Kana nodded, harboring concerns in this regard. Although the Dark Blade and the Hidden Killers are deemed of equal caliber in Nick's discourse, as the Dark Master of the Dark Blade, I must concede that, in comparison to the Hidden Killers, the existence of the Dark Blade remains rather tenuous. At least until now, the Hidden Killers are aware of our Dark Blade's stronghold, while we possess scant knowledge about them. Furthermore, the Hidden Killers boast numerous formidable warriors, none of whom leave a trace. A year ago, the notorious assassin known as Reincarnation assassinated 3 of our esteemed ninjas. According to reliable sources, this Reincarnation does not appear to be one of the Hidden Killers, nor is it someone that ordinary individuals could summon. The Hidden Killers are shrouded in mystery, Any rash actions on our part could very well provoke them. What of reincarnation? She can traverse effortlessly among your dark blade, yet stirs not a ripple before me. The blood-red mandala raised her delicate chin with an air of haughtiness, gazing down at Ishihara Kana with disdain. For her, reincarnation, who has caused headaches and embarrassment for the dark blade, is merely a tool for wearing down medical instruments. Unbeknownst to her, witnessing Ishihara Kana falter ignited a sense of pride within the blood-red mandala. At least, beside Qin Lang, her imposing presence is irreplaceable by Ishihara Kana. Even if she wields control over the local armed forces, even with the vast organization of the Dark Blade at her disposal, her superior combat prowess is beyond Ishihara Kana's reach. I acknowledge your formidable strength, yet even if you could subdue reincarnation, what are the powerful entities within the hidden killers? Setting aside the known and the unknown, simply facing the master of the hidden killers alone, you would not possess a guaranteed victory. Ishihara Kana retorted mercilessly, recalling how, when the hidden killers offended the high echelons abroad, waves of powerful adversaries came forth to besiege them. Yet what was the outcome? The ranks of the assassin list shifted continuously, with countless unregistered experts perishing in Colon. From the few fortunate survivors of that siege, the only confirmed detail was that they faced solely the master of the hidden killers, with no other aids in sight. Thus, the master of the hidden killers is oft referred to as the god of death in external circles. The blood-red mandala furrowed her brow. How was it that she was unaware of this? She indeed recalled the turmoil that once beset the assassin rankings, with successive waves of top-tier warriors falling, only to be replaced by unfamiliar names. In her earlier days, she had glimpsed the bounty for that event, but the task details were vague and did not limit the number of assassins. Her proud nature had led her to operate solo, dismissing collaboration with other assassins, causing her to overlook that lucrative bounty task, entirely ignorant of the underlying truth. This defies logic. If such a thing had occurred, wouldn't it have caused an uproar in the black market? Ishihara Kana scoffed, asserting that just because you have not heard of it does not mean it does not exist. For it was we, the Darkblade, who were responsible for cleansing the aftermath of that siege, and only we, standing alongside the hidden killers in Colon, managed to evade being eliminated by the master of the hidden killers. Moreover, the fortunate survivor of the encirclement was one of our esteemed Sakura's supreme ninjas, who managed to narrowly escape disaster by employing the technique of feigned death. Supreme ninja? Observing the spirited exchange between the two women, Qin Lang felt an overwhelming urge to fetch a small stool and snack on some seeds. It was a matter that did not concern him, and he preferred to remain uninvolved. However, upon hearing the term Supreme Ninja, his interest was piqued. So, you mean to say that your Dark Blade still possesses a hidden Supreme Ninja? Goodness. The strength of a Dark Blade's upper ninja is already nearly on par with the current military elite, boasting at least a physique of around 150. As for Sakura's Supreme Ninja, they would undoubtedly overshadow the upper ninjas, with a physique likely exceeding 300, perhaps even surpassing 400. If Darkblade truly has a Supreme Ninja in their ranks, even if this old fellow is still injured, he could surely heal himself. At worst, they could have Ishihara Kanai administer those little pills, transforming this old codger into a Sakura Akita. The prospect of acquiring such high-level combat prowess for free is simply irresistible. No, Ishihara Kanai shook her head. Although that Supreme Ninja had evaded capture through the technique of feigned death, he was gravely wounded and barely clinging to life. Didn't he survive? Kinlang mom ulit foli. What a pity. A free high-level Supreme Ninja. He had suspected that in the current circumstances, Darkblade would logically have no Supreme Ninjas among them. How could a high-level combatant simply appear out of nowhere? Ishihara Kanai continued to shake her head. The injuries of that Supreme Ninja could be managed with our Darkblade's capabilities. Unfortunately, he belongs to the rival Koga faction. After extracting some information, I had to eliminate him. According to the Supreme Ninja's last words, it seemed that the master of hidden assassination possessed a secret technique that allowed one to unleash terrifying combat power beyond their own limits at the brink of death. This was precisely why so many encircling assailants had perished at the hands of the master of Colon. The master of hidden assassination is rather formidable. It seems they are not easily dealt with. Qin Lang pursed his lips, deep in thought. He was aware that the master of hidden assassination was his second senior sister and knew her trump card, which was merely a technique that burned one's vitality to achieve a momentary surge in power, akin to his own 9-turn celestial dragon technique. However, In terms of physique enhancement, his 9 turns celestial dragon technique was far more astonishing. First, he needed to locate the headquarters of the hidden assassination. The rest could be addressed later. Qin Lang was not inclined to linger on this matter any further. Regardless of how mysterious the hidden assassination may be, his second senior sister must be found. The local armed forces of Kolan would serve as cannon fodder for this endeavor. 2 days swiftly passed. Under Nick's direction, the local forces of Kolan were reorganized and commenced a thorough search of the territory. They endeavored to uncover the whereabouts of the hidden assassination's headquarters. However, after 2 consecutive days of searching, they found not a single clue. This was not the worst of it. The truly dire situation was that, while the location of the hidden assassination remained elusive, Qin Lang's Sea Emperor gang had inadvertently drawn the attention of the vigilant members of the hidden assassination. In the dimly lit bar of the Dark Blade, Junzi stood in for Qin Lang and received an anonymous letter from a local boy. Upon opening it, he discovered that the message, scrawled haphazardly across the page, contained only the words reciprocity. Unable to sleep, Junzi examined the letter throughout the night, ultimately deciphering the ominous message. Kill Qin Lang. Chapter 310. The Deep Bond of Friends. Lin Yuchu, a grave situation had unfolded. Had they truly suffered a setback? They had yet to locate the base of the hidden kill, and now their own Sea Emperor gang had become a target. Moreover, the choice to send an unrelated boy as a messenger suggested a deep concern for maintaining secrecy, indicating that they had garnered significant knowledge about the young master's formidable strength. There was no room for hesitation. Without a moment's thought, Junzi dispatched a text to the young master. Ding dong. In the bedroom, the clear sound of a message alert resonated. Lin Yuchu rubbed her eyes, pouting in annoyance, wondering who could be causing such a disturbance so late at night. It was truly exasperating. Mu Yuyan appeared even more fatigued, merely emitting a soft grunt as she clung to Qin Lang's neck, oblivious to everything, and continued her sweet dreams. Sighing, Qin Lang extracted an arm, retrieved a cigarette, and lit it, exhaling lonely puffs into the air. Restless throughout the night, he glanced left to see his woman and right to find yet another of his women. The busy Qi master was weary of the incessant messages. Ding dong, ding dong. Yet, the notifications persisted relentlessly. Finally, Lin Yuchu took the phone from the counter and placed it in Qin Lang's hand. After unlocking it and casting a glance, the dazed Qin Lang suddenly became alert. The hidden kill had come knocking. This was the first time he had encountered such a situation. He had not even unearthed a single lead. It had been traced back by the hidden kill, who had sent a threatening letter. Has something happened? Mu Yuyan inquired softly, concern lacing her voice as she opened her eyes. Noticing Qin Lang's furrowed brow, she sensed something was amiss. Qin Lang shook his head, assuring her it was nothing serious. I will handle it. You all continue to sleep. He gently patted Mu Yuyan on the chest, seamlessly rolling out of bed and leaving the room. Mu Yuyan wished to follow, but considering her current condition and knowing she would be of no help, she reluctantly stayed behind. However, her worry did not dissipate. Seeing Lin Yuchu sleeping soundly with her blanket, she kicked her leg in frustration. Sleeping again? Do you not realize something has gone awry? I have rarely seen Qin Lang wear such a serious expression. I cast a fleeting glance and discovered that the message had been sent by Junzi. Despite his usual frivolity and tendency to assist Qin Lang in concealing various matters, it was inconceivable for him to disturb his young master at such a late hour without grave reason. Yuyan, what on earth are you doing? Are you trying to keep anyone from sleeping at this hour? If you're worried, why not go over and check on him? Lin Yuchu lamented as she rubbed her thigh, sulking at the disturbance. I understand your frustration, but some matters are not pursuits I wish to indulge in. The crux of the issue lies in your own physical constitution. How can you blame me for that? Besides, weren't you just moments ago gazing at me with tear-filled eyes? It was because you are my dear friend that I wish to share your burdens. She pouted with exaggerated sorrow, her expression reflecting immense distress. The look of indignation she cast at Mu Yuyan resembled that of a heartless woman, one who repays kindness with betrayal. When I was called upon, I answered. Now, you begrudge me for being too invested? Am I mistaken? I am discussing serious matters, yet you prattle on nonsensically. Mu Yuyan, exasperated, rubbed her forehead and shot her a glare. In her mind, she pondered the perplexity of Lin Yuchu's condition. How could they have grown up together, yet possess such stark differences in constitution? They endured the same precise onslaught, yet their reactions were utterly divergent. Why, in such circumstances, when one would reach the brink of physical limits, could Lin Yuchu not only persevere but thrive, exuding vitality? Do you perhaps derive joy from suffering rather than torment? Mu Yiyin ventured tentatively. Suddenly, Lin Youchu's eyes widened in surprise, her drowsiness vanishing as if she had encountered a kindred spirit. Yiyin, could it be that you have also awakened? Keep your distance. I do not share such peculiar inclinations. Mu Yiyin hastily rolled her eyes, lamenting that had she known Lin Youchu's true nature, she would have kept her distance from the outset. Initially, she had been so eager to assist in revealing Qin Lang's true self, yet now, it seems she competes with me the most. Lin Youchu, feeling disheartened, gazed at Mu Yiyin as if a barrier had emerged between them. What a pity. If only Yiyin shared her disposition. How delightful it would be. In truth, this peculiarity was something she had only recently discovered. Rather than anxiety and fear, there was an unspoken sense of anticipation that had begun to blossom. Life, after all, is monotonous and requires embellishments. My talent for finding joy in hardship is not something most can rival. Yin, if you look down upon me in this regard, you are gravely mistaken. In fact, my constitution is undoubtedly a significant asset for you. Mu Yin scoffed, pointing out that she had not encountered any issues in Lin Youchu's absence. She understood well the convoluted thoughts within Lin Youchu's mind. It was merely a matter of equivalence. Oh, are you now showcasing your affection here? Qin Lang cherishes you and knows how to value you. Does he? Lin Youchu wore a disdainful expression, perceiving the situation as foolish and antiquated. Do you truly believe that Qin Lang harbors thoughts solely for you? Consider the possibility. If he finds no solace in your presence, he may seek comfort in the company of other women. What might ensue? Even if he holds you dear in his heart, your incessant demands could drive him to exasperation, resulting in his visits to you becoming increasingly infrequent. Let's not forget, my association with you is in direct comparison to that young girl from the Bai family. Although I may not possess her youth or certain alluring attributes, my resilience is not something an ordinary person can rival. To put it plainly, whether you are present or not, I can certainly withstand the presence of Qin Lang on my own. Mu Yin raised an eyebrow, sensing a significant threat. Who is Lin Youchu? She possesses an uncanny ability to read others. Upon witnessing Mu Yin's drastic change in demeanor, Lin Youchu quickly realized she had spoken too candidly. No, that is not right. She hastily corrected herself. Yin, who do you think we are? We've been inseparable since childhood. After all these years, do you truly believe that I, Lin Youchu, am not aware of our standing? Rest assured, as long as there is sustenance for me, you shall not be left with mere scraps. Chapter 3:11. To defeat magic with magic. Meanwhile, after leaving his bedroom, Qin Lang convened with Blood Red Mandala and Ishihara Kanai. Among others, they all gathered in an upscale private room at the Dark Blade Bar. Has something occurred? Blood Red Mandala was the last to arrive, inquiring before unceremoniously pushing Ishihara Kanai aside to sit next to Qin Lang, seemingly seeking to provoke her. Ishihara Kanai felt a surge of frustration but held her tongue. This female assassin acted irrationally. She could have easily occupied the right side, leaving Ishihara undisturbed on the left. Instead, she insisted on sitting on the left, forcing Ishihara to relocate, clearly attempting to irritate her. Furthermore, she had been eager to cultivate a closer relationship with Qin Lang. The more she learned about him, the more she was fascinated by his enigmatic nature. For someone like her, who desperately sought power for vengeance, he presented an irresistible allure. Yet, fate conspired against her. Blood Red Mandala's unwavering gaze kept her from enjoying any private moments with Qin Lang, even with the two Dragon Kingdom women, Lin Youchu and Mu Yiyin. Maintaining their close camaraderie, Blood Red Mandala never uttered a word of disapproval. However, the moment Ishihara made her entrance, she could feel Blood Red Mandala's scrutinizing eyes from 10 meters away. Enough of this for now. We have serious matters to attend to, Qin Lang remarked as he lightly tapped Blood Red Mandala's head, redirecting his attention to Junzi with a nod. Junzi silently adjusted the projector, and upon receiving the signal, promptly displayed a letter on the large screen. This is a letter I received tonight from a local boy in Cologne. While its contents appear to be merely greetings, I can't shake the feeling that something is amiss. This is clearly a warning that we have overstepped our bounds, and the audacity to threaten a visit is nothing short of intimidation. The young master, residing in Quran, has essentially not crossed any significant organizations. Even if he had, all matters have been settled. The only unresolved issue pertains to the Shadow Killers, and I harbor grave suspicions that this is the doing of their operatives, aimed at our Sea Emperor gang, and it poses a direct threat to the young master's safety. In Junzi's eyes, nothing is more paramount than the young master's well-being. Otherwise, he would not have disturbed the young master's peaceful slumber on such a late night. He is quite adept at discerning priorities. Sure Yuan can nigh cast a measured glance, particularly noting the peculiar patterns beneath the envelope, patterns that barely qualify as designs. An ordinary individual might mistake them for mere streaks inherent to the paper. However, as the leader of the Dark Blade, her understanding of the Shadow Killers surpasses that of Junzi. Furrowing her brow with concern, she stated, "There's no doubt this is the work of the Shadow Killers. Those seemingly innocuous streaks on the envelope are their signature, known in the black market as the Divine Assassiness Bounty. As the name implies, anyone receiving such an envelope has been marked by the Shadow Killers, particularly those of high-tier combat capability, or even targeted directly by the Divine Assassin himself." The blood-colored mandala questioned, "How do you know this? I've heard nothing of the sort." Sure Yuan Kanai smirked slightly. "I didn't wish to know, but unfortunately, the Dark Blade received 3 such letters back then. And as you are aware, all 3 of our elite ninjas were slain. Was it during the reincarnation incident?" Qin Lang tapped his fingers lightly on the low table, frowning. At that time, reincarnation should still be in Dragon Country. And the last encounter with the 3 ninjas necessitated reincarnation's direct involvement. If they have indeed uncovered my existence as the Sea Emperor, it is highly likely that the leader of the Shadow Killers has come into play. Flee. Sure Yuan Kanai suggested. Once the Divine Assassin's bounty is issued, the Shadow Killers will pursue relentlessly, especially since we currently lack even the most basic intelligence about them. The enemy lurks in the shadows while we are exposed. Confronting them head-on is decidedly unwise. The blood-colored mandala frowned. "And what about you?" She had refrained from taking drastic measures against Sure Yuan Kanai, considering her continued utility to Qin Lang. However, if Sure Yuan Kanai's first instinct in such a critical moment was to sever ties, the blade at her throat could swiftly sever her veins. "Me?" Sure Yuan Kanai pointed at herself and smiled. "I shall simply accompany Mr. Qin in his departure. If death is to be my fate, so be it. After all, I've already pledged my allegiance to Mr. Qin. I require his strength to exact vengeance upon the cherry blossoms for past grievances. Without Mr. Qin, even with another 10 or 20 years, returning would only lead to a dead end. Rather than perish at the hands of those despicable individuals, I would find it a relief to die at the hands of a formidable warrior like the Divine Assassin." The Crimson Mandala let out a cold huff, choosing to disregard Shiera Kana, and instead turned her gaze towards Qin Lang, saying, "Do you not possess the art of disguise? Teach me to transform into your likeness. I am quite curious to see how formidable this master of hidden assassins truly is. How dare he be revered as the god of death? This title is one I have never even contemplated." Having triumphed over the cycle of reincarnation, she had ascended to the pinnacle of the assassin rankings, bearing the title of killer, further elevated to divine status. The very thought made her feel utterly uncomfortable. "I recognize your strength. However, when compared to the god of death, your chances of victory may not be as favorable, and there exists the possibility of placing Mr. Qin in jeopardy." Shiera Kana, assessing the current circumstances, delivered her analysis without mercy, her words dripping with scorn for the Crimson Mandala's audacity. "Young master, preserving the Green Hills ensures that we need not worry about firewood. It would be wise to retreat for now," Junzi interjected, his tone laced with a plea. He was genuinely afraid. When they approached the local armed office in Kolan, he felt no such trepidation, for behind them stood the Dragon Kingdom. No matter how formidable the local forces were, they would inevitably consider the stance of the Dragon Kingdom, unable to brazenly eliminate a citizen of the Dragon Kingdom, especially not the young master. Yet, the hidden assassins were unmistakably akin to rabid dogs, capable of anything. He was unconcerned about being eliminated by them. What truly worried him was the prospect of the young master perishing as well. Should that happen, he would no longer be able to touch the luxurious Maybach that the Qin family had prepared for the young master. How absurd! I had anticipated that the 3 of you could devise a brilliant plan. Yet it seems we are left with either recklessness or retreat. It appears I must take matters into my own hands. Qin Lang silently retrieved his phone and dialed a number. Before long, the call connected. A prolonged silence enveloped them until the somewhat unfamiliar voice of a woman on the other end broke the stillness, sounding like an ethereal orchid in a secluded valley, tinged with a hint of uncertainty. "Is this Qin Lang?" "It is indeed, Miss Luo. I sincerely apologize for disturbing your rest at such a late hour," Qin Lang replied, his tone exceedingly courteous, even somewhat distant. lacking the fervor he had exhibited in Tianyu City when he was eager to assist Luo Qingyu in her quest for the Tianshan Snow Lotus. No disturbance at all. I was merely reading. Luo Qingyu felt a twinge of discomfort in her heart, sensing that this conversation had utterly shattered some of her fantasies. She had envisioned their next encounter to be filled with warmth, having imagined countless scenarios to match Qin Lang's amiable smile. However, the reality of their conversation was marked by a disconcerting estrangement, which left her feeling quite unsettled. With a blend of curiosity and anticipation, she asked, "Have you come to Tianyu City?" "Not at all. I am presently in Kalan, entangled in some business troubles. Initially, I intended to seek assistance from my family, but they suggested that perhaps this issue could be resolved with just one phone call to you. Thus, it is with great trepidation that I find myself calling you. Miss Luo, late at night. I truly feel remorseful for this. It has not been long since we parted ways, and my first initiative to contact you is to seek your assistance." Qin Lang began to explain, attributing some of the reasons to his family. To combat magic with magic is undoubtedly the most logical approach. Firstly, the second senior sister, known as the God of Death, possesses a unique technique that can instantaneously enhance her physical prowess, unleashing multiplied combat strength. Setting aside whether he could suppress her, even if he were to invoke the 9 transformations of the celestial dragon to overpower her, the damage inflicted upon himself cannot be disregarded. Moreover, the invocation of her special technique would inevitably result in a backlash against herself. If a problem can be resolved simply, why resort to a life-and-death struggle? Qin Lang was careful not to be too forthright. Some matters must remain undisclosed. It is entirely understandable to shift the pretense of seeking Luo Qingyu's assistance onto the Qin family. After all, the Qin family is a formidable entity within the Dragon Kingdom. And even if Luo Qingyu's sect is shrouded in mystery, they would undoubtedly possess some awareness of it. "What troubles you? Is there danger?" Luo Qingyu inquired. Qin Lang pondered for a moment before responding. "In Kolan, I have drawn the attention of an organization called Hidden Kill, and their leader has issued a bounty for my capture. Miss Luo, do you happen to know this leader of Hidden Kill? Perhaps we can make a call to resolve this misunderstanding amicably." Goodness, a bounty from the God of Death? Hidden Kill has hardly issued 3 of these in the past 3 to 5 years. On the other end of the line, Ning Qianqian exclaimed, "What mischief have you been up to in Kalan? Have you stirred up the hornet's nest of Hidden Kill?" "Qianqian," Luo Qingyu chided lightly, then reassured Qin Lang. "Do not worry, it will be fine. I shall arrive tomorrow." After exchanging a few pleasantries, Luo Qingyu found herself overwhelmed as Ning Qianqian continued to chatter incessantly. Ultimately, unable to bear it any longer, fearing her junior disciple might utter something startling, she had to terminate the call. Beep, beep, beep. Inside the private room, Shirokana curiously inquired, "Who is this Miss Luo? It seems she is acquainted with the Hidden Kill organization and is aware of the bounty for the God of Death. Yet, despite this, she intends to come here. Does she possess absolute confidence in her ability to nullify the bounty issued by the leader of Hidden Kill?" She scrutinized Qin Lang, her enchanting eyes filled with skepticism. Just how many hidden cards does Qin Lang hold? Were he an ordinary powerhouse? Upon realizing the terrifying implications of the bounty, he would have long since fled from Kolan. Instead, Qin Lang appeared unperturbed, immediately seeking a means to address the situation. "Miss Luo, which Miss Luo? Is she the fiancée you met in Tianyu City last time?" The Scarlet Mandala gazed at Qin Lang with an air of melancholy. "Do you still have that elixir for enhancing physical constitution? I wish to indulge in another 10 or so bottles." Regarding Luo Qingyu from Tianyu City, Shuisei Mantinlo possesses a certain understanding, as she is, after all, the fiancée of her man. If she were to disregard this, what else would she care about? Ho ho! In the past, she seldom regarded other women with any significance, and Luo Qingyu was no exception. After all, in terms of strength, she had always been the foremost combat force by Qin Lang's side. However, the situation has undergone a monumental shift. Following the threat posed by the assassination order from the Hidden Kill organization, Qin Lang instinctively assumed that she could not resolve this predicament. Yet he chose to reach out to Luo Qingyu for assistance. Does this not clearly indicate that, in Qin Lang's heart, Luo Qingyu's prowess surpasses her own? A profound sense of crisis instantly surged within her. Before Qin Lang could utter a word, Shiera Rana curiously inquired, "What is the physical enhancement agent? Does it enhance one's strength upon consumption?" Shuisei Mantianlo replied with a cold smile, "Naturally. Before I consumed the physical enhancement agent given by Qin Lang, I was no match for the reincarnation. Yet after taking it, no matter how the reincarnation attempts to stir up trouble, It cannot create any waves beneath my hand. By nature, she was proud and solitary, yearning for glory, and held the utmost disdain for achieving results through external means. Nevertheless, now, when faced with Shiera Rana, she spoke of her strength deriving from the consumption of the enhancement agent, not only without any sense of inadequacy, but rather with pride. Why? Because this enhancement agent was bestowed by Qin Lang, her man. In contrast, Shiera Rana, despite her efforts to curry favor with Qin Lang, had yet to even hear the name of the enhancement agent. The disparity in treatment compelled her to reclaim her absolute advantage since her rivalry with Shiera Rana began. Mr. Qin, I wonder if Rana is deserving of such a reward? Shiera Rana gently nudged Qin Lang with her shoulder. Her current strength was too meager, rendering her incapable of being of assistance in many matters. If she could obtain this enhancement agent, she would undoubtedly become Mr. Qin's indispensable right hand in the future. Given that even Shuesei Mantianluo had personally validated its efficacy, it must possess unique qualities. Shiera Rana was eager to elevate her own strength as well as that of her covert agents. If this enhancement agent truly had the miraculous properties claimed by Shuesei Mantianluo, then her deep-seated vendetta would soon be avenged. It's getting late. Let us all retire for the night. Qin Lang yawned, ignoring Shiera Rana and proceeding to leave the private room. In the corridor, Junzi followed closely behind him. Qin Lang paused, and as Junzi caught up, he smiled and inquired about the reward that Shiera Rana desired. What do you think? Young master, you're asking me about this? Junzi pointed to himself, misinterpreting the question, and awkwardly scratched the back of his head. Honestly, I don't have much of an opinion. I just feel that Miss Luo is quite capable. When their essay matter, she really steps up. Chapter 313. The senior sister and the junior sister indeed. What if Miss Luo arrives and encounters President Mu? Junzi felt a sense of disorientation and could not help but voice his concern. The well-being of the young master directly affects his own life. If the young master were to be tormented by Luo Qingyu and Mu Yuyan, his days of ease would come to an abrupt end, and he would undoubtedly become a mere outlet for frustration. He felt this deeply. As for whether Luo Qingyu could resolve the matter of the assassination order sent by the Hidden Kill organization, he had no doubts. Even without knowing her connection to the leader of Hidden Kill, one could clearly see from Luo Qingyu herself that she would not make empty promises. She must possess confidence to boldly declare her intent to protect the young master. Why are you bringing up Luo Qingyu when I asked about the potion needed by Ishihara Kanai? Qin Lang replied irritably, swatting Junzi's head. It's one thing to mention it casually, but why does it seem like you're worrying on my behalf? Master, I truly wish not to fret. But back at my place, Manager Zhang and the little streamer can hardly meet without clashing, let alone President Mu and Miss Luo. Both are stunning in their own right, having been pampered by their families since childhood. Moreover, the statuses of President Mu and Miss Luo are distinct from your other girlfriends. They are both fiancé-es. A meeting of the two would certainly not be a simple affair. While the Emperor is not anxious, the eunuch is. I feel this saying applies to me, Junzi thought, recognizing that some matters must be addressed. What if he became a punching bag? Furthermore, if the young master had effective strategies to handle such situations, he wanted to witness them firsthand. He was confident he could learn. In the end, whether it was Manager Zhang or the streamer from the platform, he would know how to handle them. I am well aware of these matters. There is no need for your reminders. Qin Lang rolled his eyes. Before he called Luo Qingyu, he had already contemplated this situation. Moreover, given Luo Qingyu's stature, she would inevitably learn of Mu Yuyan and the other's existence. It was futile to feign ignorance. It would be wiser to take this opportunity to lay everything bare. Junzi scratched the back of his head, offering an awkward smile. The young master was always wise and strategic, calculating every move and leaving no room for error. Perhaps he had overthought the situation. After showering the young master with compliments, Junzi's expression turned serious again. As for Miss Ishihara Kanai, the young master should not let his guard down. Firstly, the sincerity of her allegiance had yet to be validated. Secondly, she was undoubtedly from Sakura country, a nation notorious for its treachery. Trust should not be easily bestowed. Furthermore, given the nature of Miss Bloodred Mandala, it was improbable that she would mention the potion merely out of vanity. I suspect that Miss Bloodred Mandrake may wish to exploit the unique properties of this potion, thereby inciting Miss Ishihara Kana to succumb to avarice and engage in unscrupulous actions, thereby revealing her true nature. Qin Lang, observing Junzi's astute analysis, felt a sense of relief and patted him on the shoulder, exclaiming that at last he had made some progress. It It was not in vain that he had encouraged him to read more. His ability to analyze situations was becoming increasingly logical, unlike before when he would merely utter expletives. Junzi chuckled, scratching the back of his head, and remarked that the words of the young master were indeed worth more than a decade of study. On another front, at the borders of Kellen, Ning Qianqian silently kicked a few clumps of dirt onto a black man's head amidst the overgrown grasslands, while scattering some powder to attract wild beasts nearby. She then lightly returned to her companion, Luo Qingyu, and complained, "Master Sister, do you not think the local militia in Kellen resembles a bunch of useless fools? The first time I came, I encountered a robbery on the way, and given the chaos, I overlooked it. But now, it has been stated that local armed forces are in control. How can there still be so many idle rogues around? Eliminating a few Kellen locals is not the issue. The real trouble lies in the medicinal powders I have prepared. Otherwise, leaving these brutish corpses here might lead to the proliferation of disease." Sighing inwardly, Ning Qianqian lamented that to prevent innocent lives from falling ill, she was compelled to take extra measures. Truly, a little medical sage in her own right. Luo Qingyu, reluctant to engage in conversation, cast a silent glance at the off-road vehicle, signaling Ning Qianqian to drive. With a pout, Ning Qianqian complied, occasionally attempting to lighten the mood. "Master Sister, please do not be angry. I did not come here for leisure. I have previously lived in Kellen for some time, familiarizing myself with the terrain. I can serve as your guide. Had I not arrived in Kellen when our second senior sister was in peril, treating her for over half a month to bring her back from the brink, I doubt we would be facing any assassination orders against Qinlang now. By this time, the grass on her grave must be over a meter tall. Master Sister, please do not ignore me." Ning Qianqian coaxed playfully, her voice sweet and slightly whiny as the bumpy dirt road jostled her. "Just focus on driving." Luo Qingyu replied sharply, her face stern. "You chose to accompany me to this remote and chaotic Kellen instead of remaining in the Dragon Kingdom. What good have you done but cause me trouble? When you were gravely injured and needed me, I came immediately. Now that you are healed, you find my presence bothersome?" Ning Qianqian wore a pitiful expression, her lips pouting, with tears glistening in her eyes. "Is it truly a bother? This is something that could easily be resolved with a phone call. If necessary, I can contact our second senior sister to settle the matter. Was it really necessary for you to come all the way to Kellen? Master Sister, do not forget, we are from the same school. Saying we grew up together is no exaggeration. In the face of perilous trials and tribulations, I shall undoubtedly accompany you on this journey. What does a hail of bullets matter? As your devoted junior sister, I absolutely cannot tolerate any harm befalling you. Dear senior sister, if blood must be shed, I shall willingly share in that sacrifice." Chapter 314. The encounter of Luo Qingyu and Mu Yuyan. Luo Qingyu turned her head, gazing at the exquisite visage of her junior sister, a furrow of concern knitting her brow. For reasons unknown, she sensed an underlying sharpness in her junior's words, as if veiled insinuations lurked beneath the surface, yet lacking tangible evidence. Along the way, Ning Qianqian chattered incessantly, steering the off-road vehicle towards their prearranged destination. Upon reaching the quaint town of Kalan, they found Junzi awaiting them, assuming the role of their guide, leading the two women directly to the lair of the Darkblade organization. After casually parking the vehicle at the periphery of a bar, Ning Qianqian surveyed the establishment, which appeared opulent and sophisticated from the outside. Is this really Kalan? In such a desolate place, when did such a high-end bar emerge? It's as though a luxury car dealership, offering vehicles worth millions, sprouted in a slum. This was utterly inconceivable. Is this constructed by Qinlang? Ning Qianqian inquired, her curiosity piqued as she glanced at Junzi. He chuckled sheepishly, scratching the back of his head, and replied, "Miss Ning, it's not as you think. This is actually the headquarters of the Darkblade. We are merely lodging here temporarily. Furthermore, the leader of the Darkblade is now under the service of our young master." "Darkblade?" Ning Qianqian murmured skeptically, turning to Luo Qingyu. "I recall hearing about this organization during the Hidden Kill operation. It was established by a woman from Sakura country. Here in Kalan, it wields significant influence, with numerous elite shinobi under its command. How did Qinlang come to associate with this Sakura organization? Doesn't that directly touch upon the sensitive issues concerning our second senior sister?" Luo Qingyu's brow furrowed as she instinctively blurted out. Qinlang's family would never permit him to entangle himself too closely with those from Sakura. Junzi, slightly embarrassed, clarified, "Miss Ning, you've misunderstood. Our young master is not collaborating with the leader of Sakura. Rather, he is subduing her establishing a master-servant dynamic. Em mutity curious. It seems as though you two are conspiring against me. Ning Qianqian pouted, glancing around in discontent. Where is Qinlang? We traveled all the way from Tianyu City in Longhua, with no direct flights, and having changed several connections, yet we still have not laid eyes on him. Though she merely voiced a passing thought, she knew full well that, given Qinlang's status, it was improbable for him to form close ties with those from Sakura. After all, with the Qin family's stature in Longhua, they would never act in a manner contrary to reason. Feeling a twinge of discomfort from the rebuke, she naturally directed her frustration towards the still absent Qinlang. Our young master is currently preoccupied with certain matters. You two should rest indoors after your long journey. Junzi busily arranged matters around him, yet his mind was a maelstrom of unease. He genuinely could not fathom what the young master was contemplating. Despite being fully aware that Luo Qingyu was on her way, and even upon learning that Ning Qianqian had accompanied her, he did not brace himself for their arrival. Instead, he had conspicuously sought an excuse to vacate the bar at such a critical juncture. It was worth noting that during this time, President Mu and Lin Yuchu had taken up residence in the bar. Particularly after securing the local armed forces led by Kolan, tasks could be delegated, and Nick would willingly assist Mu Yuyan in their execution. Even matters concerning project supervision and employee recruitment were managed without her involvement, allowing her to remain within the bar without stepping outside. Occasionally, she would emerge to share a few drinks with Lin Yuchu. If they were to cross paths, chaos would undoubtedly ensue. Junzi cautiously guided Luo Qingyu upstairs. Here, only the hall on the first floor and the second floor fell under the bar's domain. Anything above that was a private area, generally free from disturbances. Junzi contemplated placing some distance between the quarters of Luo Qingyu and Mu Yuyan to avert any encounters. At least until the young master returned, he was determined to prevent any meeting between the two parties. However, how could Ning Qianqian, having made the effort to visit Kolan, simply comply with such instructions? She gazed longingly at the myriad of bottles behind the bar and tugged at Luo Qingyu's arm, urging, "Senior sister, let us have a couple of drinks. Your injuries have healed, and after spending so long at the Luo residence, surrounded by the scent of traditional medicine, a change of flavor is in order." Initially, Luo Qingyu intended to decline. It was impractical to cater to her junior sister's every whim, and a little firm guidance would be beneficial. Yet, upon noticing the urgency and evasion in Junzi's gaze, she found herself inexplicably unsettled, caught in a moment of hesitation. Junzi was nearly drenched in cold sweat. He could almost hear the click of high heels ascending the staircase. In this bar at this hour, who else but Mu Yuyan and Lin Yuchu would be traversing the space in heels? "Miss Luo, allow me to show you to your room. If you wish to drink, I can arrange for refreshments to be sent to your accommodation, sparing you the discomfort of mingling in this bustling hall," Junzi suggested with a sheepish grin. "Thank you for your kindness," Luo Qingyu nodded, not wanting to put the bodyguard, who was closely associated with Qinlang, in a difficult position. Just as Junzi steadied himself and prepared to escort Luo Qingyu and Ning Qianqian to the elevator, a voice called from the staircase, "Junzi?" As the words echoed, both Luo Qingyu and Ning Qianqian turned to see Mu Yuyan and Lin Yuchu descending together. For pairs of eyes locked in mutual surprise. Junzi, standing nearby, felt his mouth twitch uncontrollably, pressing his forehead in despair, silently lamenting, "It's over. I can't hold it together anymore." "Junzi, who are these two beautiful ladies?" Mu Yuyan inquired with a half-smile, her gaze fixed on him. "They traveled all the way from the Dragon Kingdom. Why haven't you introduced us?" Luo Qingyu seemed to sense something, her brows slightly furrowing, yet unwilling to show weakness. She took the initiative to speak. "I am Luo Qingyu from the Luo family in Tianyu City." "Ah, it is Miss Luo. I have heard much about you. I am Mu Yuyan, from the neighboring Tianhai City. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance." Mu Yuyan gracefully descended the stairs, as if encountering an old friend. Luo Qingyu paid no heed to the already opened elevator doors and walked directly towards Mu Yuyan. At that moment, it was not just the two women, both of whom had shared the title of Qinlang's fiancée, who were engaged in a silent confrontation. Lin Yuchu and Ning Qianqian, standing beside Mu Yuyan and Luo Qingyu, exchanged glances as if they had understood each other in an instant. They leaned in unison towards their elder sister, dear friend, and spoke in unison, "Sister, Ian, that woman beside her does not seem to be of good character." Chapter 315. Mu Lin, Luo, Ning Junzi stood by, heart racing as he watched the impending confrontation. He made a final effort, jogging to Luo Qingyu's side. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, Luo Qingyu's words halted him. Could you please assist in taking care of the luggage first? Junzi was left speechless, frozen in place. At that moment, Mu Yuyan had approached, extending her hand in a manner akin to two company chairpersons meeting with utmost seriousness. She shook hands with Luo Qingyu and smiled. In such a remote place, it is rare to even encounter someone from the Dragon Kingdom. What brings Miss Luo here? Mu Yuyan was aware of Luo Qingyu and harbored unique sentiments towards her. While she could disregard Qinlang's other women, she found it impossible to overlook Luo Qingyu. It was a title that once belonged to her, now resting upon Luo Qingyu's shoulders. This feeling was akin to having one's most cherished possession snatched away by another woman, leaving her increasingly uneasy. There are some matters that require resolution. I wonder what brings President Mu here. Luo Qingyu replied with a calm smile, subtly reversing the inquiry. Although her disposition was as tranquil as water, and she rarely concerned herself with trivialities, it would be absurd for her to be unaware of who her fiancé's former fiancé was. Not to mention the numerous sacrifices she had made during Qinlang's time in Tianyu City. Regardless of the pretenses, she could not truly remain indifferent. Shall we sit and chat? Mu Yuyan invited. Luo Qingyu nodded in assent. Inside the bar's grand hall, there were private booths and a VIP area, each separated by intricately designed partitions, furnished with sofas and tables. Luo Qingyu and Mu Yuyan sat facing each other, their gazes locked in mutual observation. Beside them, Ning Qianqian and Lin Yuchu squinted their beautiful eyes, intently watching one another. Compared to the formalities among the prominent families, these two women of slightly lesser status were much more direct in their approach. In their gazes, there lay a palpable animosity and disdain, utterly unmasked. Had it not been for the presence of Mu Yuyan and Luo Qingyu nearby, the two women might have leaped at each other, intent on pulling each other's hair. It has long been rumored that the Luo family of Tianyu City enjoys substantial wealth and grandeur. However, recent whispers suggest their reputation may be waning. Numerous rumors circulate, alleging that the Luo family has leveraged their association with the Qin family to forge collaborations with various affluent families, thereby amassing wealth through these opportunistic ventures. Mu Yuyan, undeterred, lifted a cocktail glass presented by Junzi, taking a delicate sip while pushing the tray toward Luo Qingyu. While her words were harsh, they were indisputably true. This had become an acknowledged fact. Given the proximity of Tianhai City to Tianyu City, any stirring of events would swiftly spread through word of mouth, even if not widely disseminated online. It is worth noting that upon aligning with the illustrious Qin family from Yanjing, the Luo family garnered the attention of not only the affluent of Tianyu City, but also a multitude from Tianhai City, who longed for opportunities to cultivate relations with Qinlang. Luo Qingyu, with a gentle touch, grazed her fingers against the cocktail glass without lifting it. Reflecting thoughtfully before responding with a serene smile, it is human nature to seek favor. The Luo family, being a worldly clan, could hardly resist the allure of such a straightforward means of wealth accumulation. Fortunately, Qinlang arrived just in time to curtail the escalating rumors. She paused, lightly tapping the surface of the cocktail glass with her slender fingers, continuing, just as the Mu family once did with the Qin family of Yanjing. Had it not been for the Qin family's intervention back then, the Mu family might have been devoured by rival clans long ago. Such is the nature of humanity. When the prospect of wealth is presented, it is nearly impossible not to be tempted. Just as President Mu's mother, had she not seized the opportunity to forge a marital alliance with the Qin family, how could she have navigated the turbulent and dark times? Luo Qingyu responded to Mu Yuyan's provocation with measured composure, simultaneously launching her own counterattack. In essence, they were merely airing each other's dirty laundry. Lin Yuchu, witnessing her childhood friend being confronted, was taken aback. Goodness, she had not anticipated this. Aside from that woman, who clearly seemed untrustworthy, this seemingly amiable one had a sharp tongue, leaving her dear friend blushing crimson. This was even more pronounced than the previous night, when she had observed her friend from the sidelines. One could easily surmise the anger simmering within her cherished companion. Oh dear, Yuyan, I truly wonder what brings us to this place called Kalen, in this sweltering heat. Lin Yuchu nudged Mu Yuyan's arm, pouting in mild complaint. She glanced around, noting the excellent seclusion of the small private booth. As long as no one entered, the view within remained concealed from prying eyes. In a moment of determination, she tightened her resolve, increasing her stakes while subtly adjusting her collar to reveal her enviable assets. Her tone of complaint grew more pronounced. Indeed, In such sweltering weather, it was rather unreasonable for Qin Lang to forbid them from wearing tank tops, claiming to protect them from the advances of the Colon individuals. While she understood his concern for their well-being, it was imperative that he also consider their feelings. Day in and day out, she urged him to venture out more, to not linger around them incessantly. Yet he remained obstinately unyielding. To be candid, Luo Qingyu could hold her own against Mu Yuyin's somewhat refined and strategic assaults. However, when faced with Lin Yuchu, who played by her own rules and immediately tugged at her collar with a sultry tone, she found herself at a loss for words. Unsure of how to respond, she instinctively glanced at her junior disciple, seeking assistance. Yet, upon witnessing Lin Yuchu's display, Ning Qianqian lowered her head to assess her own appearance, measuring herself against Lin. Concluding that she needed to exert more effort, she abandoned the notion of such ostentation. "What are you looking at? Is there something interesting on the ground?" "Let me see," Lin Yuchu inquired with a playful smile. Ning Qianqian raised her head, appearing to endure some internal torment as she waved her hand dismissively. "Forget it. When I encountered Qin Lang earlier, he made some rather unrefined gestures right from the start, and I still bear the consequences." Chapter 316. Are the villains truly this benevolent? Is the competition, now, so utterly insane? Lin Yuchu mused, observing Ning Qianqian's pained expression. She merely flaunted her figure, yet Ning Qianqian had to bring Qin Lang's pointed remarks into the mix. It felt akin to a game of cards, where she laid down a pair of threes, only to be crushed by a royal flush. How was one to continue playing under such circumstances? "Qianqian." Luo Qingyu furrowed her brow and shot her junior a reproachful glance, a mixture of admonishment and subtle resentment lingering in her gaze. There was an unspoken depth to her expression, akin to a hint of embarrassment regarding her junior's display of intimacy with Qin Lang in front of others. Ning Qianqian potet, disgruntled, as she murmured, "What is wrong with me? Is it permissible for Qin Lang to act in such a way, provoking ire and disdain, while I'm not allowed to speak of it?" She had a point. What was there to fear? The truth was as plain as day. When she had initially beckoned Qin Lang, he had disregarded the conventional approach and made crass advances, and now she was expected to remain silent. As for Lin Yuchu and Mu Yuyin's opinions, they were inconsequential to her. Mu Yuyin pondered for a moment, then smiled at Luo Qingyu, softly murmuring to herself, "It has been over 20 years, and yet we have never met, only to suddenly be bound by a marriage contract. What era is this? Are we still adhering to our parents' whims and matchmaking? It feels so antiquated." With Miss Luo's talents, one would expect her to dismiss such an arrangement with ease. Just as Luo Qingyu was about to respond, her junior tugged at her sleeve, prompting her to turn and look. Ning Qianqian let out a sigh, imbued with profound sorrow. She gazed pityingly at her senior sister, then shook her head and remarked, "President Mu is indeed correct. My senior sister is a person of great stature. How could she possibly value a marriage contract that she has never acknowledged?" However, coincidentally, when Qin Lang arrived at the Luo family, my senior sister was grievously injured. You cannot imagine, at that moment, she was on the brink of death, even in such dire circumstances. She had no intention of relying on the power of the Qin family. Yet, fate had other plans. Qin Lang was adamant about not dissolving the engagement. Not only was he obstinate, but he also went to great lengths to help my senior sister find rare medicinal herbs for her recovery. He even risked his life, braving perilous journeys to Tianshan to procure the exceedingly rare millennium-old Tianshan snow lotus, which ultimately restored her to life. My senior sister, though generally indifferent, is still a woman. In her most desolate and helpless moments, encountering such a fervent man, how could she remain unmoved? The crux of the matter is that Qin Lang is truly sincere. He genuinely takes action. At this moment, Ning Qianqian appeared as a seasoned witness to the tribulations of life, sighing deeply as she clutched Luo Qingyu's arm, articulating Qin Lang's affection for her senior sister. "What a smooth talker," Lin Yuchu muttered quietly, her gaze fixated on the lower abdomen of Ning Qianqian, seemingly lost in thought. In the adjacent private room, both women sat facing each other. Mu Yuyin, suppressing her inner disappointment, feigned a casual smile. It was not difficult to comprehend. Qin Lang would not be constrained by this engagement, yet he happened to encounter Miss Luo in distress, and given his character, he could not remain indifferent. As for the rest, Miss Luo might be overthinking it. Luo Qingyu furrowed her brows, scrutinizing Mu Yuyin across the table, and inquired suspiciously, "Why is President Mu so concerned about my engagement with Qin Lang? If I recall correctly, the engagement between your Mu family and the Qin family has seemingly been dissolved." has it not? The atmosphere grew increasingly tense, with both sides standing their ground, unwilling to yield. Meanwhile, Junzi, eavesdropping from a distance, felt a cold sweat trickling down his back upon witnessing this standoff. He quickly made his way to the office building of the local armed forces in Cologne, too apprehensive to remain in the bar, fearing that he might overhear something that would terrify him to death. The only solution was to seek out his young master. Upon arriving at Qin Lang's office, Junzi barely had the chance to speak when Qin Lang, seated behind his desk, raised his hand to halt him, saying, "We can discuss this later. I have important matters to attend to." With that, he dismissed Junzi and resumed perusing some documents. Pausing on one page with a slight smile playing on his lips as he looked at Nick and remarked, "So this mercenary group, called Bloodwolf, is now operating within Cologne? The Bloodwolf Mercenary Corps can be regarded as a formidable mercenary organization. Originally under the command of the first fated child, Yi Feng, it was unexpected that, after the loss of their leader, they would venture to develop in a desolate place like Cologne." Nick nodded, inquiring if Mr. Qin was aware of the Bloodwolf Mercenary Corps. This group holds considerable renown internationally, although it may not rival the enigmatic organizations such as the Dark Blade and Hidden Kill. The Bloodwolf possesses a robust mercenary force that even local armed groups in smaller nations would prefer to avoid confronting directly. Qin Lang lightly tapped his fingers on the table, smiling as he acknowledged the situation. Including the Bloodwolf Mercenary Corps, he needed to consolidate all these organizations and mercenaries under his banner within 3 days. He presumed Nick understood the necessary steps to achieve this. Cologne was rife with various organizations and mercenary factions, including some parasitic entities. Seizing the opportunity while he was present, he intended to bring Nick into his fold, eliminate a few organizations engaged in harmful dealings in the black market of Longhua, and support others involved in smuggling operations towards countries like Sakura. It was a mutually beneficial endeavor, and why not pursue it? As for those with substantial strength, such as the Bloodwolf Mercenary Corps, wouldn't it be advantageous to bring them under his command? Nick swallowed nervously, expressing his concerns. "Mr. Qin, the Bloodwolf Mercenary Corps is not easily dealt with, especially since they are entering the country with some highly destructive weapons. If we act recklessly, it could lead to trouble. Rinhai, gather a few elite ninjas. If there are dissenters within the Bloodwolf, eliminate them and appoint a willing leader." Qin Lang instructed Ishihara Rinhai nonchalantly. He was not particularly concerned about the powerful experts within the Bloodwolf, no matter their prowess. They could not compare to Yi Feng or the elite ninjas of the Dark Blade. His primary interest lay in the multitude of mercenaries within the Bloodwolf. With Yi Feng deceased, as the one responsible for his demise, he felt it imperative to take care of his legacy and women. Chapter 317, Day Defense, Night Defense. Hard to guard against close friends, I will go personally. Ishihara Rin cast a glance at the blood-red mandala standing behind Qin Lang, feeling a deep disdain. This woman followed her like a shadow, seemingly fearful that she might have a moment alone with Qin Lang. Rather than remain here under scrutiny, she preferred to undertake tasks that would assist Qin Lang, thereby leaving a more favorable impression. Qin Lang nodded in agreement, advising against the senseless slaughter of unrelated mercenaries. This was a caution, given that Ishihara Rinhai's character often regarded the lives of the weak with disdain, treating even her subordinates as expendable, let alone those of the Bloodwolf Mercenary Corps. "Mr. Qin, rest assured, I will not disappoint you." Ishihara Rinhai cast a charming glance at Qin Lang before departing the office under Nick's guidance. "Mr. Qin, you are truly remarkable, almost a savior for our Cologne. In just a few days since your arrival, you have effortlessly eradicated several unlawful organizations that were sowing chaos in our midst, restoring clarity to our skies. Mr. Qin, may I have the honor of inviting you to dinner? The post-dinner activities have already been arranged, featuring exquisite delicacies imported from abroad. Mr. Qin, my wife has long admired you. May I have the privilege of introducing you to her?" A group of local armed leaders from Cologne, seizing the opportunity in Nick's absence, have begun extolling your virtues, seeking to forge closer ties with you, Mr. Qin. Various dinner gatherings, 2 or 3, are merely commonplace. One local armed leader even introduced his own wife. "Focus on your tasks. For now, follow Nick's arrangements and feel free to step out." Qin Lang gestured dismissively, indicating it was time for them to leave. "What is there to enjoy in this desolate place? Our skin tones differ. I certainly do not have such peculiar tastes." He took a sip of tea, paused momentarily, then turned to the young man who had been standing by for quite some time. "What brings you here? Wasn't it my instruction for you to fetch Luo Qingyu?" The young man opened his mouth, rendered speechless by the inquiry. Hadn't the young master asked him to wait? Why was he now being accused of neglecting his duties? Noticing the young man's restless gaze, often darting towards the door as if burdened by some unspoken secret, Qin Lang glanced at the blood-colored mandala beside him, his expression darkening. How long has this fellow been by my side? Is there something that he cannot know? Speak plainly. Don't be coy. Otherwise, one might think you wish to meet that Kolan's wife from earlier. Master. It is the young man's face was a mix of distress and confusion, as if he had been holding back for 3 days without relief. Qin Lang cleared his throat, his fist gently tapping against his lips. He turned once more to the blood-colored mandala, smiling. Mandala, don't you think this fellow deserves a good thrashing? I shall step out for a moment. I am curious about what Shira Kanai is contemplating. The blood-colored mandala shot a glare at the young man, finding an excuse to leave the office as well. In the blink of an eye, only Qin Lang and the young man remained in the office. Come, have some tea. Qin Lang retrieved a cup, poured tea for the young man, and handed it over. As the young man approached, Qin Lang patted his shoulder. I apologize for the trouble. It's no trouble at all. The young man shook his head, his expression one of hardship. To endure Miss Shue's resentment for the sake of the young master was an honor. Yet, he couldn't help but wonder. If this resentment accumulated, would there come a day when he might find himself on a darkened road, his life threatened by a dagger? Just the thought sent a shiver down his spine. Shaking his head to dispel the lingering chill, Junzi solemnly remarked, Young master, today is truly unfortunate. I had followed your instructions to pick up Miss Luo, intending to take her to the bedroom as soon as we arrived at the bar. However, to my surprise, President Mu and Miss Lin descended at the same time, leading to a tense confrontation between them in the private room of the bar. It seemed they were on the verge of a clash. You must return quickly to stabilize the situation. Qin Lang nodded in understanding, his fingers gently tapping the table. Has Ning Qianqian also joined them? Junzi supported his head with his hand. Indeed, she and Miss Lin are embroiled in the fiercest argument. Each one is more adept at stoking the flames than the other. Qin Lang chuckled. In that case, there is no cause for alarm. With Ning Qianqian and Lin Yuchu present, the situation is unlikely to escalate too severely. Has the physical enhancement potion I provided alleviated the discomfort you were experiencing? On Kolan's side, he needed to consolidate some organizations. Relying solely on Shirokana was insufficient. Concentrating all energy on a single woman from Sakura country would be akin to harboring a formidable tigress at one side. The blood-colored mandala, accustomed to solitude, detested such trifles, leaving Junzi to bear the burden. Junzi conducted a thorough check on himself. I'm feeling much better now. If it weren't for your reminder, I might have forgotten about that sudden surge of power. He opened the drawer of the desk, retrieving 10 bottles of the physical enhancement potion from his system bag, presenting them to Junzi. You should take 5 of these and distribute the remaining 5 to Lao Huang and the others. You have received too many benefits from me. The gap in strength between you and Lao Huang's group has widened considerably. Moving forward, your prowess will undoubtedly be top tier. But Lao Huang and his companions must not be neglected, as they were among my first followers. Do you understand? It was not that Qin Lang was stingy, only that he deemed it unwise to provide in excess of the enhancement potions. The physical constitution of Junzi and the others could not withstand a drastic increase. Unlike the blood-colored mandala, they had not consumed the Tianshan Snow Lotus. Once they ingested such a powerful potion, it could easily lead to irreversible bodily harm. You truly aren't considering returning to take a look? Junzi inquired, unable to suppress his concern. If this continues, should Miss Luo and President Mu come to blows, I cannot guarantee that Miss Ning and Miss Lin will merely stand by. They are undoubtedly capable of pulling hair. Junzi couldn't help but remind him, deftly retrieving a large red convenience bag from his suit pocket, placing the physical enhancement potions inside as if he were a vendor at the market. This had become routine for him. He always kept a convenience bag on hand. Rest assured, if it were only Luo Qingyu coming, I would not have arranged for her to rest at the bar. Qin Lang waved his hand dismissively, yawning with calm composure. Some matters, when the time comes, cannot be concealed. They must be resolved through intellect, not to mention someone as uniquely spirited as Luo Qingyu, which would require even more time and effort. Yet, who could have anticipated that Luo Qingyu would bring Ning Qianqian along? Given Ning Qianqian's disposition, could she possibly stand idly by while her senior sister withdrew? For women like Luo Qingyu and Ning Qianqian, to take away their first kiss is akin to robbing an ordinary woman of her essence. There are those who are even more anxious than he is at this moment. Chapter 318. A conspiracy against Qin Lang. Meanwhile, the discussion at the Luo Mu meeting has officially concluded. Upon returning to her room, Lin Yuchu clung to Mu Yuyan's arm, incessantly lamenting. She had never imagined that a day would come when the ever-hunting falcon would be pecked at by an eagle. That woman named Ning Qianqian certainly did not appear to be virtuous. I discerned her true nature at a glance, old Master Kong. Mu Yuyan furrowed her brow, seemingly indifferent to Ning Qianqian, yet placing greater emphasis on Luo Qingyu. I cannot shake the feeling that the developments have taken an unexpected turn. Is it possible that Luo Qingyu and Qin Lang have not cultivated a profound relationship, merely bound by the constraints of their engagement? Lin Yuchu, with her rosy lips playfully tugging, rolled her captivating eyes, a tempest brewing in her mind. Are you suggesting that Luo Qingyu remains unaware of Qin Lang's strengths? Do you believe that our display of defiance will compel Luo Qingyu to retreat, willingly severing ties with Qin Lang, thus leading him to harbor resentment towards us? Avoiding any future in-depth interactions? Mu Yuyan rolled her eyes in response, somewhat exasperated. She had merely uttered a few words. Yet Lin Yuchu had already surmised much of what remained unspoken. Lin Yuchu patted her shoulder reassuringly, saying, "Fear not. If Luo Qingyu were to come alone, it would be a different matter, but with Ning Qianqian, that little firecracker by her side, I am certain she will not simply depart. If I were in such a situation, I would undoubtedly drag Yu Yin into the fray with me, refusing to face it alone." Just as Mu Yuyan had surmised. Upon returning to her room, Luo Qingyu stood by the window, her gaze vacant and unfocused, staring out at the desolate scenery, filled with melancholy. Why has it come to this? She had long suspected that with Qin Lang's background, he could not possibly have only one confidant. From her years of observation, those with noble status, while appearing humble and amiable, often possess their own hidden agendas, intertwined with interests. However, witnessing Mu Yuyan's earnest conversation, the sense of disappointment in her heart remained unmasked. Could it be that Luo Qingyu is truly destined to share a man with other women? Is she still herself in this scenario? What a shameless creature, entangled with multiple women. She had never imagined that Qin Lang would be such a man. Had she known, she would have ensured his demise before he left Tianyu City. In the bedroom, Ning Qianqian rummaged through the belongings, hastily stuffing the garments that her senior sister had just organized in her suitcase, all the while complaining, "Senior sister, what are you doing? You know what kind of person Qin Lang is, yet you still intend to stay?" Luo Qingyu turned around, observing her busy junior sister with a hint of suspicion. "What are you doing?" Ning Qianqian, without lifting her head, held up a red pouch embroidered with mandarin ducks, examining it with surprise. "Elder sister, isn't this the mandarin duck you embroidered by hand when you were just a teenager? Why are you still carrying it with you?" She raised her gaze, scrutinizing Luo Qingyu's chest with one glance, then 2, 3, or 4. "Can this even be worn?" Luo Qingyu stepped forward briskly, extracting clothes from the suitcase, especially shoving that red pouch beneath the mattress. Annoyed, she twisted Ning Qianqian's ear and frowned, reprimanding, "What nonsense are you up to again?" Ning Qianqian pouted in grievance, angrily plopping down on the edge of the bed. "Look outside. That Mu Yuyan and Lin Yuchu just came to bully us. They rely on being Qin Lang's women to threaten us. Elder sister, if it were you, could you tolerate it? I certainly cannot. My man belongs solely to me. I will never share him with another woman. It's not as if Qin Lang is the only man in the world. Are all the others dead? At the very least, there's our junior brother. Even if he isn't the best, he is only the fourth sister by his side, which is half of what Mu Yuyan and Lin Yuchu have. Why are we still here? Are we seeking discomfort? Leave now." Luo Qingyu stood frozen, as if this could indeed be a solution. But after a moment's reflection, she dismissed the thought. What relation did this matter have with Chun Fan? Moreover, the promise she made to Qin Lang remained unresolved, and she had yet to contact her second sister. What if something truly went awry? And when did Qin Lang become your man? Ning Qianqian felt a surge of delight, silently giving herself a thumbs up. Truly, her little healer was brilliant. Knowing her elder sister's temperament, after the conversation with Mu Yuyan, she was undoubtedly feeling aggrieved and might be contemplating retreat. In such times, dissuasion could backfire. A reverse approach, retreating to advance. What a clever strategy. Yet, none of that mattered. If second sister were to truly eliminate Qin Lang, that would be another story. After all, it was Qin Lang who professed his love while frolicking with others. He brought this upon himself. If he were to face misfortune, Mu Yuyan and Lin Yuchu would shed tears for him. But what concern was that of ours? Ning Qianqian hoffet visibly irate. Luo Qingyu sighed. Had he ever uttered those ambiguous words of affection? He had never spoken of love in Tianyu City. He acted solely out of a sense of obligation to their engagement. He risked his life to retrieve the Tianshan Snow Lotus to save her. Her life, after all, was given by him. What right did she have to demand he adhere strictly to propriety? Unbeknownst to her, under the outpouring of fury from her junior sister, Luo Qingyu gradually discovered, as if a light had dawned upon her. Perhaps it was due to her prolonged absence from Qinlang that her thoughts had become muddled. She had once sworn silently in her heart to protect Qinlang's peace for a lifetime. How could she now waver in her resolve? It was truly laughable. Elder sister, how can you endure this? Are you some divine from the land of cherry blossoms? Ning Qianqian's delicate nose crinkled in irritation. As for me, I cannot abide by that wretched Lin Yuchu. Men, must engage in social obligations outside. Such occurrences are unavoidable. However, if those women from his social circle come knocking, we, as rightful partners, must possess the confidence to stand our ground, lest we become the subject of gossip. Here is the plan. To solidify your status as Qinlang's fiancé, prepare yourself for tonight. When he returns, we are matching pouch, and I will concoct a potion to incapacitate him, seizing the opportunity to carry him into your bedroom. At that moment, the two of us sisters will be in perfect harmony. Just ensure that you do not indulge alone. You are spouting nonsense again. Luo Qingyu furrowed her brow, her slender fingers twisting Ning Qianqian's ear 180 degrees counterclockwise, causing her junior sister to squeal in pain. Elder sister, I was wrong. Please let go. You might tear my ear off. Let us see if you dare to speak such nonsense again. Luo Qingyu huffed coldly, finally releasing her grip and casting a stern glare at her. Ning Qianqian rubbed her ear, mumbling incoherently, too timid to speak loudly. If she wished to indulge alone, she could simply say so. Was there truly a need for such subterfuge? The elder sister was nothing but a hypocritical glutton. If she wished to leave, she would have done so ages ago. Yet she continually proclaimed her intent to repay a debt of gratitude. Is there truly a way to repay such gratitude? When they were in Tianyu City, she had no idea what the circumstances were for her second sister, not even bothering to make a phone call before flying over. Moreover, she frequently sought out tidbits about Qinlang. Was it necessary? Had her interest in Qinlang not driven her to such lengths? Furthermore, when Mu Yuyin had approached earlier, given the elder sister's status and usual manner of conduct, it was simply impossible for her to sit with her. Yet what transpired? A back and forth filled with tension, occasionally dragging her into the fray. If the elder sister harbored no feelings for Qinlang, even twisting her ear would not convince Ning Qianqian otherwise. Luo Qingyu furrowed her brow tightly, observing her junior sister's enigmatic demeanor, and scolded. What nonsense are you contemplating now? Nothing. Ning Qianqian retorted sulkily, turning her head away and flopping onto the bedding, scrolling through trivial news on her smartphone. Her legs bent rhythmically, one in front of the other, using her heels to bump against her backside, while she hummed, I am merely being overly sentimental. Qinlang belongs solely to you, and it has nothing to do with me. Why should I assist you in strategizing? At worst, next time Mu Yuyin and Lin Yuchu will join forces against you, and I shall merely observe the spectacle, occasionally cheering you on. It is rather absurd to consider the present circumstances. You hesitate to leave, yet remain reticent about your true feelings. Just wait. Do not think that it is solely Mu Yuyin you must contend with. Even Lin Yuchu alone would be enough to challenge you. While evading open conflict may be manageable, the subtleties of hidden schemes are far more treacherous. When Qinlang is eventually taken away, you may very well find yourself covertly providing protection for them. Ning Qianqian has only now realized that, in her senior sister's heart, she, as the junior disciple, has never been regarded as one of their own, but rather as someone to be wary of. How infuriating! Clearly, the union between the Qin and Luo families was due to her efforts. Yet now, when she merely wishes to be included as part of the prize, she is met with opposition. If she does not resolve this issue with her senior sister, she will refrain from undertaking such thankless tasks in the future. As for Qinlang having an external romantic interest, her senior sister may care, but she does not. She has long been aware that the scions of prominent families seldom remain devoted to a single woman. Besides, if Qinlang were truly impervious, what chance would she have to intervene? Upon seeing the presence of Mu Yuyin and Lin Yuchu, she increasingly felt that her opportunities were widening. Qianqian, Luo Qingyu called out. Ning Qianqian, as if deaf to her call, rose and stowed away her device, departing the bedroom with the intention of taking a stroll. Luo Qingyu observed the retreating figure of her junior sister, letting out a soft sigh, her brow furrowed in concern. In that moment, she found herself at a loss for what decision to make. and could only silently rise and follow suit. The two sisters walked in tandem down the corridor when suddenly Ning Qianqian halted, colliding with her distracted senior sister from behind. Instinctively, she turned and placed a finger over her lips, signaling silence. With her other hand, she pointed toward the nearby, closed door, indicating that there were voices within, seemingly discussing Qinlang. Luo Qingyu nodded and moved closer. This was the stronghold of the Dark Blade, being in Kulan, who could ascertain whether someone was scheming something nefarious against Qinlang. Indeed, eavesdropping was essential. Inside the room, several elderly men, including Lao Huang and Junzi, were gathered, engaged in lively conversation. Brother Junzi, it is not in my nature to flatter, but if it were not for your guidance, our brotherhood would hardly have reached such heights. One remarked, indeed, Brother Junzi, among our large group of brothers, how many still toil for a meager monthly wage of a few thousand, at most 10,000, braving the elements just to make ends meet? If only health were on our side, but once illness strikes, that scant income hardly suffices to navigate the financial abyss of a hospital. Let's speak of old Qian. His wife recently encountered some health issues, and undergoing surgery requires a staggering sum starting at 300,000. This unfortunate circumstance depleted all their savings, and had it been in our earlier days, we would likely have been left utterly destitute. Thankfully, we crossed paths with young Master Qin. Otherwise, my comrades and I could not possibly be in such a comfortable position. Lao Huang raised a glass of wine, toasting towards Junzi from a distance, and downed it in one gulp, his heart filled with myriad emotions. Since aligning ourselves with the young master, our salaries have already surpassed those of our peers, with each earning over 10,000 as a mere baseline. Moreover, our earnings do not solely rely on salary. For instance, tasks involving business trips or surveillance can yield bonuses amounting to tens of thousands. Not to mention, this recent assignment in Kulan commenced with an upfront fee of 300,000, with all additional expenses covered by the young master. The task is still ongoing, and the anticipated bonuses are surely to exceed 7 figures. Furthermore, upon arrival in Kulan, we were not devoid of supplementary income. Merely visiting the local office building resulted in small-time bosses handing us checks starting at several hundred thousand. The young master tacitly approves of these dealings, showing no inclination to reclaim any of it. To put it bluntly, everyone present here, having followed Qinlang for merely half a year, has remarkably become a millionaire. Junzi discreetly glanced at the surveillance on his phone, observing Luo Qingyu and Ning Qianqian standing outside. Understanding dawned upon him as he tucked his phone away and raised another glass of wine, remarking nostalgically, "When I initially sought your assistance, my intention was to guide everyone onto a path of prosperity. Would I deceive you? You all know well who our young master is. He is fiercely protective. As long as we continue on this course, we need not worry about a bleak future." Lost in thought, he pondered how to extol the virtues of the young master. In the Dark Blade bar, aside from the surveillance room, this singular device in his possession was the only one of its kind. Little did he anticipate that upon returning from the Kulan office, he would encounter such a scene. Lao Huang and the others, having indulged in their fair share of drink, found themselves growing curious about questions they usually refrained from asking. "Junzi, what do you think the young master aims to achieve in Kulan?" He asked, subduing the Dark Blade and the local armed forces. With his family background in Huaxia, does he truly need such assistance? Junzi's eyes lit up momentarily before he suppressed his excitement, clearing his throat and responding earnestly. "You see, this is something you fail to grasp. Since the young master arrived in Tianhai City, he has matured significantly, no longer seeking familial aid like child. As he puts it, relying on one's family often leads to constraints. Had I not remained by his side for this long, I might have been sent back home. The young master has a purpose in coming to Kulan. Did you not notice the 2 women from Longhua who just arrived today?" Old Huang nodded several times. Having seen her, she was breathtakingly beautiful, on par with President Mu and Miss Lin. However, those 2 possessed an ineffable, unique aura about them. Junzi chuckled lightly, noting that both of them were exceptional elites, capable of effortlessly dealing with anyone among us present, particularly that Miss Luo Qingyu. "Only we few are brothers. Otherwise, I would refrain from discussing such matters with you." His voice echoed powerfully, almost boastfully, deliberately raised, as if afraid someone might not hear him. "Do you know who Miss Luo Qingyu is? She is our young master's fiancée. When I accompanied him to Tianyu City, Miss Luo was gravely ill, on the brink of death. It was only through our young master's immense efforts and resources that she was saved. However, since our young master discovered that Miss Luo was harmed by an enemy to such a degree, he has increasingly felt the fragility of his own power. This prompted him to consider expanding his influence in Kellen, with the hope of one day eliminating the formidable adversary who severely injured Miss Luo. Sometimes, witnessing our young master toil so hard in a foreign land, I, his close bodyguard, feel a twinge of pity. He could enjoy a life of luxury in Longhua, yet he chooses to come to this desolate place. Despite the hardship, he is now threatened by that damned hidden kill organization. It's infuriating. If only I had the capability, I would storm their stronghold and obliterate those scoundrels. Junzi, appearing somewhat inebriated, animatedly gestured as he spoke to himself. Old Huang and the others silently listened, deeply moved